just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, and it's a special episode. It's arguably one of our favourite episodes of the year. It's Game 1, Origin, teams have been announced. This is when rugby league is at its best. It's most exciting. But before we get into it, don't forget, 6 p.m. tonight, it's Monday. Bloke hoodies are dropping. We're all wearing them. You obviously got myself, Hammy, here. You've got Guru, Timmy in the our other colour. And then also, we're dropping shirts. Ooh, they're sexy in both colours. So it's all matching. It's all matching. And then we've got shorts as well. So Bloke shirts, shorts and hoodies dropping tonight, Monday, 6 p.m. Very limited amount. Here we got the blue shirt here. Beautiful stuff. Now, the hoodies are one size over. So if you like it a bit baggier, they're made to be a little bit baggier. But if you like it to be tighter, just go down a size. For example, I wear a large in the shirt and I'm wearing a medium hoodie right now. And there is limited amount, guys, and they are unbelievable. They are high quality material. They are much better designed than our ones in the past. They're also they're like tracky material. The shorts, they're not board shorts. They're like tracky material, so you can wear them in the house anywhere. That is 6 p.m. tonight. If you want to see what they look like, go to our Instagram. You can see pictures. As I said, the hoodies, they are made to be oversized. So if you want a bit tighter, go down one size. The shirts and the shorts are normal sizing. The great Gurino, what's going on, brother?
Favourite time of the year, mate. 2 teams announced overnight. Very exciting. I love that night before Origin teams announced and the rumours are flying around everywhere and you hear the most outrageous things and the team's named and everyone just forgets about it. It's unreal.
Timmy?
Yeah, mate. Normally I get in here and I enjoy having a bit of a chat about people's weekends and all that, but this week, Origin teams have dropped. Let's just get into it, eh?
Let's get into it. Matty? No, Mike? Hammy?
Very exciting. Not only Origin team's name, but very quick shout out to my beloved boys. The Calcutta Knight Riders won the IPL last night as well. So
okay, shout out.
Plenty to celebrate today.
Big day for everyone.
Yep.
It's a big day for everyone.
Yep.
Can I just say really quickly, I feel like we don't create good content around Origin when it comes to announcing the teams.
It's a train wreck.
Like, what the heck? We got journos announcing teams. Like, no disrespect to journos. I'm in the same boat. I'm not a journo, but like I'm in media. I shouldn't be announcing the team. Random me, it should be full on at this time. Both coaches go on either Fox or Nine or both or whatever, and it's read out, play out number by number.
It is the apex of our game.
Literally.
Why on earth we don't have a show and content built out around it is unbelievable.
We don't even have a time locked in.
It's bizarre.
Some years it's on Monday morning, Sunday night. We don't even know.
Remember a few years ago, Queensland announced the team. They all walked out one by one to Cotton Eye Joe. They should bring stuff like that
Bring
back.
it back.
But like TV is obviously all about money, advertising, all that. Imagine the numbers that show will do. Like the Sunday game finishes at 6 o'clock. The news slot's obviously a massive one, so you could wait till 7:30 Sunday night, whatever it might be, and you just have back to back Blues into Maroons, whichever way you want to do it, and you have them on stage announced, coming from the back. Pick your own music song, whatever you want to do. It would just be like. Imagine the numbers that'd do.
Yeah. Do it Monday night to allow 24 hours to sort your injuries out.
Yeah.
But just Monday night, 7 p.m. It'd be unreal.
So you guys aren't a fan of the screenshot of a tweet from a journo that comes through about half-time of the last game of the round?
It's crazy. It is crazy that we do it like that. Imagine the sponsorships you could get on board, like team announcement brought to you by Westpac or something like that. They would pay a squillion for it.
I will say they would have to do it on Sunday night because they tried to do it on Monday night when I was there at the Blues, but the journos would just camp out at the hotel and wait for the players to rock up. So I reckon they'd have to do it on Sunday night.
There's ways you could do it. There's ways you could do it. Like, of course, you know, there's going to be people in the comment section, and rightly so, are going to be like, oh, this is why you can't do this, and this is why you can't do that. Listen, when there's this much money involved, you find a way. Yeah. You find a way to do it. And it's just crazy that you're getting, as you said, screenshots off Twitter. You got a journo reading teams out. Like, and also how these teams get leaked to the journos before it. It's like, I cannot believe for the life of me. Do a live stream on YouTube if you have to. Like, anything to make it exciting. I never understand that. I never understand. It is, when I talk about hype and teams named, it's literally, there's nothing like it throughout the whole season.
No, and it's probably like the closest thing we've got to, you know, over in the NFL, like draft day is such a big day because they make so much out of it.
Yep.
It should be exactly the same.
It should be exactly the same.
Yeah.
There's so many things you could do around
There's literally
it.
speculation and articles from the time that the series finishes last year. Yeah. It finishes, then there's, all right, potential teams for next year's Origin, and then you have literally 12 months of hype around it. and get there and it's a screenshotted tweet that's shared.
Or it's like a guy, like a journal on like Fox or Nine, like, I'm hearing that, such and such and such. It's like, that's so anticlimactic. Anyway, with that out of the way, guys, Origin, Game 1, the Bloke Monday crew, live show. We are back at the Locker Room Hotel. It is Bloke Live, brought to you by Mike Coolman. They have a wide range of high-quality portable fridges, portable freezers, insulated covers, drinkware, cooler bags, plus more. And they'll be giving away a Bloke-branded cooler on the night of the live show. So make sure you get some for your chance to win. Also, for a chance to win the Bloke cooler on the day, you have to be following Mike Coolman on Instagram. So go to Instagram right now, give him a follow. So Matt Bloke Live, brought to you by Mike Coolman. It is massive thank you for Mike Coolman to coming on board, to making this possible. We will be at the Locker Room Hotel doing a live show before the game. Come down, watch the live show, say hi, have a couple of cold ones, have a yarn with us. It is the best night ever. You guys have seen the pictures of years before. It is chockers. People love it. And it's just great. You come down before the game and then you go in and watch a bit of rugby league, Game on Origin. Doesn't get much better. But it's brought to you by Mike Coolman. As I said, you must be following Mike Coolman's Instagram for a chance to win a custom-made Bloke cooler. A custom-made Bloke cooler. And yeah, in regards to products, as I said, high quality range of portable fridges, portable freezers, insulated covers, drinkware, cooler bags, plus more. If you're an outdoorsman, go to mycoolman.com.au. You'll be able to find what you need there. And also support them. They support us. They're the reason why we have the ability to put this on now. So very exciting. Okay. And don't forget, guys, you have to be following Mike Coolman for a chance to win the custom-made Bloke cooler. Let's just get straight into it. It's New South Wales team, brought to you by Sportsbet, our massive partners at Sportsbet. A massive thank you. Let's just get straight. We'll go to Queensland second, New South Wales first. In regards to the game, guys, we'll do as long as we can with the games, but obviously it's about Origin right now. So we're going to dive into Origin. And if we're a little bit shorter on your team, please forgive us this week, but we want to make sure that we're focusing in on Origin. Okay, at number 1 for the Blues, Dylan Edwards. 2, Brian To'o. 3, Crichton. 4, Suoliti. 5, Lomax. 6, Luai. 7, Hines. 8, and captain of the Blues, Jake Trbojevic. 9, Reece Robson. 10, Payne Haas. 11, Liam Martin. Injury cloud on Liam Martin. Also injury cloud on Hines. 12, Angus Crichton. 13, Cam McInnes will make his debut. Isaiah Yeo, Olakawatu, Spencer Linu, Hudson Young make up the bench. At 18, we've got Burton. We've got 19, Keary. 20, Mitch Barnett. Okay, the biggest bombshell out of the lot is kind of connected, but it's Dylan Edwards at fullback, and it's also Jake Trbojevic being named captain. Look, anyone that... also, guys, just to confirm, the live show starts at 6 p.m. at the Locker Room Hotel. Brought to you, Bloke Live, brought to you by Mike Coolman. But anyway, the biggest call, obviously Tedesco out, Jake Trbojevic named captain. Now, if you listen to the selection table on the weekend, Guru had Jake Trbojevic in his side. I didn't. I had Isaiah Yeo. Initially, I did have Jake Trbojevic inside, but I had looked at it and said, I reckon I can get Isaiah Yeo on the front row, which would mean I don't need Jake Trbojevic there. Initially, you had Barnett to start in your front row.
I had Barnett and Haas as my starting front rows.
Now, although I had Isaiah Yeo at front row, I totally understand this decision of giving Jake Trbojevic the captaincy. For many, many years, he has epitomised what it is to bleed blue. I understand the decision, even though I probably would have gone with Yeo at front row and given him the captaincy. I don't think this is a crazy decision at all. I think it makes sense. I think that if we get to game 3 and we're sitting there going, Jake Trbojevic was the inspirational leader that had his bleeding blues moment, I don't think any of us will be surprised. What do you reckon, Guru?
I absolutely love it. He would have been my choice. Obviously, we sat down here the other day. I think we all had Edwards as our fullback, so we needed a new skipper. And it's funny, Jake Trbojevic not even the captain of his club, but he was just the most obvious choice to me. You got other guys in there like Stephen Crichton, who's a club captain, but man, I just think Jake, he's everything that I want New South Wales to be about, that we haven't been for so long. And we've made the mistake of leaving him out before. And I love that he's in there, and I love that he's the captain, mate. I think this sends a very strong message, and I think it's a very Madge captain. And I think this is, whether we win, lose, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. But at least I look at this side and I can see there's some DNA to it. Whereas previous years with Brad Fittler, when I've watched teams get announced, I've just sort of gone, I don't really understand who we are, what we're about, what we're doing. At least here, as much as I don't agree with every single decision, I think with guys like Gerbo as captain, Cam McInnes being picked, these sort of guys, like, I think you can understand what Madge is trying to do. Whether it works or not, another conversation.
Yeah, that's my biggest takeaway from this, is that even though I may disagree with certain selections, there is a clear direction of this side. There's a clear indication. We're going tough, we're going leadership, we're going guys that want to get in the mud and get dirty. And I think that you've got to give Madge credit for that, because he's living and dying by the sword. He's going, this is the direction I want to go, and we'll get to the bench eventually. But at the very least, it's a very clear direction. The players know what it is. He knows what it is. New South Wales as a state know what it is. At the very least, when you get to the end of the series, everyone's going to go, okay, yep, we lost. And if we lost by a lot or a bit or whatever, but at the very least, we know the direction that we tried to take, and it was the wrong direction. So at least when we go next year, for example, let's say New South Wales lose the series. Let's just say they do. He's contracted for next year. So I'm sure that heading into next year, he'll go, okay, the negatives of, say, let's say Jake Trbojevic in the front row, where you can all, everyone kind of knows it, in attack, not very good at making meters, not necessarily the most athletic front rower. So maybe next year he goes, okay, maybe I leaned a little bit too heavy into the toughness and the grittiness, and I need to get a bit more explosive in the front row. Whereas I feel like in past years, when you're trying to look at where did it go wrong, it's very hard to kind of nail down the direction. So I think at the very least, a clear direction is good for the state of New South Wales.
Yeah, and even a guy, and whilst I know he isn't playing his best footy and there's a cloud over whether he's fit or not, picking a guy like Liam Martin, same sort of pick. He's just one of those tough bastards that I just know is going to go in and do a job for us. So yeah, as a whole, mate, I like the side. There's a few things that I disagree with and that I would have gone in a different direction. But it's very evident with his outside backs what he's trying to do, the certain bodies that he's picked. And I think that you are going to need those outside backs to make big meters because of, guys like Gerbo, Cam McInnes, who aren't those huge meter eaters. But one thing is going to decide this game, and it's going to be defence at the end of the day.
For sure. And that's the one thing when I was putting together some stats last night and looking at some numbers, is that if he has selected these front rowers, they must be going in with a similar-ish game plan to the Panthers and the Sharks to a degree, where they're expecting their back line to be the meter eaters, their front rowers to be line speed. What do you reckon about the selection of Jake Trbojevic and obviously Edwards as well being selected?
Yeah, Jake Trbojevic, so stoked for him. One of the best blokes in the game. A real win for the good guys in rugby league. And Jakey, we know that he bleeds blue, probably more than anyone in the state. The players will respond to him. The players will get up to him, as Guru said, not necessarily club captain. Initially, I thought they might have gone down the route of Isaiah Yeo, and we sort of spoke in the green room beforehand, and you were sort of saying about a captain off the bench. I think Isaiah Yeo and Jake Trbojevic played relatively similar minutes anyway. Jakey probably plays a few more, but if they did want to go in the way of Isaiah Yeo, I wouldn't have been concerned about that at all. But happy for it to land on Jakey Trbojevic. You touched on the way they've done it. Possibly, it's a very defensive-minded outfit. It's going to be a tough outfit to beat. How many points do we have in us? Are we explosive enough? Do we have the creativity there? Time will tell. I am largely happy with the team. We'll get to specific selections soon. Not stoked with all of it, but relatively happy with it. And then, as Guru sort of touched on, they're going to give everything they've got. The Maroons are really going to have to win this game, because this side that's been picked, they're dirty, they're gritty. I'm excited to see.
So that was going to be my question in regards to captaincy with Jake Trbojevic. It often gets overlooked, but Isaiah Yeo is the current co-captain of three-time premiership winning side. His resume couldn't speak louder. Essentially his resume as a captain is arguably better than anyone at club currently playing. And so has it been overlooked, the fact that he's not even starting? So he's a captain, he's a co-captain, and he's a starter at Penrith Panthers. And he's not even starting, and B, he wasn't given the captaincy of New South Wales. Do you think that could that come down to a mistake in the long run? If you want to play Panthers ball, which it looks like by selections they do, surely you want the guy that's co-captain of the current Panthers at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. We sat down here the other day and picked our side, and for me, my biggest worry was that if you picked Isaiah Yeo at 13, how he's going to gel with Nico Hines. And I personally think, obviously they're in good form, but I think that the fact that Nico Hines in the 7, I think that has a lot to do with Edwards and Robson being the 1 and 9 over guys like Appy and Teddy.
Okay. And so in regards to Isaiah Yeo, he is going to come on and play front row. Do you think, could it be a mistake that he's not necessarily starting over Jake Trbojevic when he is, at the moment, form-wise, a substantially better player in regards to form right now? Do you think that could come back to bite New South Wales?
I don't have a huge issue with it, to be honest with you. I like Gerbo as a captain pick there. And I know Yo's coming off the bench, and you're very lucky, Kempy, you haven't been hurt by captains coming off the bench for New South Wales like I have previously. So I'm okay with it. I think it's
I wouldn't give the captaincy to a bench player. So I understand why Jake Trbojevic is. It's more along the lines of, could have they started Yo? Because a lot of people were shocked when I said put Yo on the front row, but clearly he's been selected right now as a front rower.
But Isaiah Yeo comes off the bench, probably plays 50 minutes. Jake Trbojevic starting front rower, probably plays 50 minutes, maybe 60. They're on the field for the same amount of time. I don't see a problem. I probably would have lent towards Isaiah Yeo as captain, and I'm nitpicking. They both seem like absolute stand-up blokes, similar enough roles, similar enough leadership qualities, but you touched on it, Kempy. Isaiah Yeo's been there and done it for the last 4 years in one of the most successful teams we've ever seen in rugby league. I thought it made more sense for that. I don't know why you boys are so against it.
I'm not against it.
Even if you want to have Isaiah Yeo off the bench, yeah, all right, Jackie Trbojevic, first 20 minutes before Isaiah comes on, you're an on-field leader, you're our talker, which you'll be doing anyway. I don't think that much changes. It's not like he's a 30-minute bench player.
No, I'm not so against it. I'm not like Sydney going, I can't believe it's happened. I'm more just posing the question as to, I would have probably started Isaiah Yeo in the front row over Jake Trbojevic. And actually, if I'm going to have Isaiah Yeo in the front row, I probably wouldn't have had Jake Trbojevic there. But I think it's a very reasonable decision. It's more just along the lines of the Isaiah Yeo not starting kind of thing. So you've got a guy that is a huge 80-minute player, and it's more for people out there that may think that Isaiah should have got selected. If we all sit here and go, yep, good selection, move on. It's no
I wonder if Nath was the halfback, who'd be the 13.
Yeah.
I reckon that it would be Isaiah.
Yeah, okay.
I think, and I back it, I think that, with a guy like Nico Hines, if he's going to be a halfback, with the way that Nico Hines plays his best footy, it's when the entire side is built around Nico. We've seen that at the Sharkies. It's when he does his best work. So, we spoke about it the other day. I think they've built this team solely around giving Nico every opportunity to play his best footy.
Yep.
Which we'll get to soon. For that reason, I think it makes sense. Doesn't overly shock me.
If Nath was there in 7 and fit, Isaiah Yeo would be 13.
Yeah, and I reckon there's every chance Appy's the 9 there.
See, I would still try to put Isaiah on the front row if Nath was there. I would still try. I just think that, so on the weekend, in that game against the Sharkies, guess who had the most meters in the first 20 minutes? Isaiah Yeo with no missed tackles as well.
He's going to be awesome in the front row. I don't knock that at all. It's
Hammy, what are your thoughts, mate? Jake Trbojevic, captain.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting one. I like Jake, like what he stands for. I think he'll do a good job at it. I do wonder, though, you mentioned rotations and stuff there. Not that it would, obviously rule every forward out, but would you not maybe want someone who's going to be on the field the whole time to be the captain? Not exactly probably spoiled for choice there in terms of experience and stuff in the back line, but I don't know, is that going to be a little bit of a
I actually reckon they're going to hope to play him for more minutes than 50 minutes.
Yeah, I think they will too. Yeah.
I think they're going to try to get him up to 65, 70. Because I agree with you. I don't think you want your captain off the field as little as possible.
Correct.
But Isaiah Yeo comes on, right, there's not a C next to his name, but if Isaiah Yeo is on for the 20 minutes that Jake Trbojevic isn't, he becomes the on-field leader. He becomes the captain while Jake Trbojevic is off. I just don't think that much changes, does it?
I don't know.
I don't see why he's so
obviously,
against
he can become the on-field captain when he's off, but I just to assume that people in the heat of battle, I go, oh, he's our leader now. He's our brave leader. I don't know. I think that in your head, when you're on the field, you've got one captain that is calling the shots. He's the man. I don't think it's as easy switch up mentally that he's now the guy that's saying, behind the try line, this is what we do, this is what we... But, look, to be honest, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's going to affect the result that much.
It's very minor.
I don't think it's going to affect the result that much.
And I'm not even against Jake being captain. I'm saying I probably would have lent to Yo, but there's not much between them. They're very similar, personality. Sure. They seem to me, similar personality types and leadership qualities.
To a degree, I do think that Jake Trbojevic shows his passion on his sleeve, his heart on his sleeve a lot more than Isaiah Yeo. Isaiah does seem to be quite a less, I guess, what's the word, animated person when he's behind the try line. Look, the good thing is if you do take Isaiah Yeo off, I guess I'd love to know what the rotation's going to be. Is it going to be an Isaiah Yeo, Jake Trbojevic swap? Then if you're swapping those two, are you basically swapping, because what they both do really well is their accumulative work is their strength rather than a 20-minute stint. So I wonder how the rotation's going to go. Obviously you've been bring Payne Haas off around the 25-minute mark. Do you put Isaiah Yeo and Jake Trbojevic on the field at the same time?
I wouldn't be against it.
Yeah. Okay. And then Jake Trbojevic comes off maybe 10 minutes before half time and you put Spencer Lena on? Or do you keep him on for it's like 70 and then Spencer at the end?
Oh, man, I think it depends how the game's playing out. I think I'm going to be really interested to see how they use Olukwatu and Hudson Young, where they injected these two into the game.
Yep.
I've heard a lot of people talking about playing these two as middles. I don't know if I'm crazy. I wouldn't be surprised to see one of them come on and Angus Crichton move into the middle for a stint too.
I'm so intrigued by it, because Ola and Hutto can play through the middle, but at NRL level they never really have. But we've seen both Angus Crichton and Liam Martin for sort of relatively extended periods spend time in the middle. So the way I look at it, I ideally want Hudson Young and Olukwatu coming on the edge. Martin will probably have more of a spell. Crichton probably goes relatively close to 80 minutes. But when they come on, this is where it gets so tricky, because I think Martin and Crichton can both go and spend time in the middle to allow those two boys to come onto the edges, which I don't mind. But at the same time, like the NRL, rugby league these days, it's generally built around 80-minute edge back rolls, if not 65. And the big thing is just the defensive combinations there, and attacking for that matter. So then you're chopping and changing. We know how little time these boys have got to work on their combinations with, 10 days in Blues camp. And then you're changing those same combinations up during the game. So I'm not exactly sure which way they'll go about it, but it's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, really, really fascinating, because I guess if you've got a game plan of, look, we are going to go at DCE friggin' essentially the whole 20 minutes, we're going to send, who would it be? Would it be Liam Martin on that left edge?
No, I think it'll be Gussie on the line.
It'll be Crichton on that edge. So we're just going to send Crichton at him for literally 20 minutes straight. Then do they go, all right, let's put a fresh body in there to keep going at him? With Olukwatu, then he just goes at him. Because the thing is Liam Martin and Angus Crichton are absolutely 80-minute edge back rowers.
There are so many fascinating things about this lineup when it comes to combinations and club combinations, because I look at so many club combinations that are probably going to be broken up, and it sounds like Nicho Hynes is very much touch and go. He may or may not play, and if he doesn't, Luke Keary's coming in there. And you go Luke Keary and Angus Crichton have the club combination on the left edge at the Roosters. You look at Suaalii, who has the left edge combination at the Roosters with Angus Crichton. Suaalii's probably going to play on the right, because we're going to have a left edge of To'o, Stephen Crichton, Jerome Luai, and have these boys all together. There's a million different ways they could go with the club combos.
I'd love to know what, the question really is where is everyone going to start? Because that almost may affect your interchange as well. Okay, so Jake Trbojevic, I think we can all agree, very reasonable decision. Even though I probably would have had Isaiah there, it's definitely a reasonable decision. And if we get to game, if you win the series and Jake Trbojevic is named player of the series, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
Just for a bit of fun between us, obviously the Manly Seagulls, they've produced both state captains. Last time it happened. From what I've had a quick look at, it's only happened twice before.
Raiders?
Leave it in the comments. Raiders, yeah. Who was it?
Meninga Daly?
Yeah, well done. There was one more. This is a tough one.
More recent?
No, around
Older.
early 2000s.
Oh, so more recent.
25 years ago, yeah.
No, more recent
More
than
recent
Meninga
than what he
Daly.
said.
Oh, is it
Sorry.
that? Yeah, gotcha, yeah.
Early 2000s, Raiders. I should know this.
All right,
No, it's not the
That's all right.
Raiders.
Let's keep moving.
yeah.
Let's keep moving. Answer?
Brad Fittler and Lamb.
Oh, Brad Fittler and Lamb. Did they win that series? Did New South Wales win that series? I think they
yeah.
It
have.
was a record series.
Hey?
It was the record series at the time.
Love that.
Oh, there you go. There's a vibe there. Okay. All right. So Jake Trbojevic, I get it. I totally get it. Him named captain. I'm just really. I think the most interesting thing for me is what is that interchange going to look like? Is Will Cam McInnes come off for a little bit? And then also you look at the number 9. Does that mean Reece Robson is locked in for 80, or will they put Cam there? Anyway, we'll get to that. Okay, next question that was already part of that first question. Dylan Edwards over Tedesco. Even though I think we've been, I'll just speak for myself. I have been of the mind of like, I know Tedesco's a gun player and I know he's going to play good footy this year. And I was always of the mind, like regardless of how well Teddy plays, it has nothing to do with form and everything to do with timing and combinations. And so I was always leaning towards Edwards. Not always, sorry. When I saw this form after 8 rounds, I was like, mate, you lock him in. Like he's just playing so well. Even though Tedesco's still playing really well, I just felt that when you're starting a new era, new beginnings, Edwards is basically the player of the player of the season so far. I thought it was just one of those kind of inevitable things where even though Teddy played incredibly on the weekend, it just feels like Edwards' time. What do you reckon, boys?
Yeah, I agree. And I do think it's worth noting, obviously, James Tedesco, one of the best players in Origin history.
Incredible.
Hasn't had a great last 2 series, but he's still one of the greatest Blues players of all time, without a doubt. But
hasn't been poor either.
it hasn't been the train wreck like people.
Yeah, people carry on like he's been shocking. Like I just disagree with that. Like he's just been not as good as we know he can be.
Yeah, and even those games where he hasn't been as good as he can be, it's not through a lack of effort.
No way.
But I think it was the right time, and I think it's a huge call for a first-time coach coming in to
massive
move off the captain.
If Edwards drops a couple of balls, like if he doesn't have put it this way, if he doesn't have a basically errorless game, and you guys lose, even if he does do well everything else, people are going to be like, Teddy would have never made those mistakes.
100%. Yeah. But I think he's made the right call. This is the fullback that I would have gone for in this side.
Timmy?
Yeah, it's not often I agree with Guru, but I think you're right in saying that when the second they named Nicho Hynes there, Nicho is such just an on-ball 7 in that he just gets a lot of touches. He needs to have a lot of control and basically be given the keys to the team. I think with the style of James Tedesco, who gets probably more touches than any fullback I know, and he slots himself in at 5, like first receiver, and he's all over the field, and he doesn't know where he's going at times. That's not a knock on Teddy, that's just his style of fullback. I could see him and Nicho really stepping on each other's toes and not working together. Dylan Edwards is a much more methodical fullback. He plays his role. You know where he's going to be. You know he's better. Spends a lot of his time at Penrith on the right edge. His support plays good and all that. So I think Nicho and Dylan Edwards can work really a lot better than I think Nicho and Teddy would have. And I think Dylan Edwards has done more than enough this season to get the nod in this team. We know he's safe as houses. He'll run for his probably 250 metres in this game. And I'm really happy with the selection. You can't help but look at the combinations there, and there is a strong flavour of Penrith again, and we see it most years in the Origin arena, but half the teams Penrith Panthers plays again, so it just makes sense to me that Dylan Edwards is given the crack, and I'm more than happy with it.
Yeah. If you even look at the way that Edwards plays his footy at Penrith, like it's changed a little bit since Nate's been out. The last few years he's played predominantly down the right-hand side. Will Kennedy plays a very similar role. You don't see, he doesn't pop up as much on the left edge as some other fullbacks in the game, so I think that, just as far as coming out of his own end, I think Edwards is going to be a great addition. But I think just trying to fit with Nicho, and the 5'8's Jerome Loa, they've played together for years too and made it work. So yeah, I like the decision.
Yeah, I think as well, Edwards has proven this year that he can actually change roles at the drop of a hat to a degree. Like when Cleary is out, he takes a step forward and he has his hands on the ball a lot more. When Cleary is in, he takes another step back. And I think that also has played into his advantage, where probably Madge has watched that and gone, he's really good at basically reacting to whoever his halves are or whoever is going to be in the side. He can go, I'm going to be on the ball heaps. Because, for example, when Cleary's out, sometimes you'll see Edwards in first receiver. But when Cleary's in, you very rarely see him as first receiver. Whereas I do feel like, Teddy has a very specific style of play. And we've seen him, pull the brakes a little bit recently, but he does have a very specific style of play that unless you click with him, it's very hard for him to kind of adjust to you, vice versa. And it's probably because he's been so dominant for so long, he hasn't needed to kind of adjust his play to anyone else because he's been the main man where he's been at.
And I feel like we've had this conversation, whether it's comparing Teddy and Edwards or Edward and whoever's in the game, we've always had Dylan Edwards just below the top tier of fullbacks, and that's because we've said as good as Edwards is and as consistent as he is, he's doing it in the best team in the comp. You know, he's doing it alongside Nathan Cleary, and we've always had the best fullbacks in the game just above him. But you're right, Campion, that, and I'm not saying it's the first time that Nathan Cleary hasn't been available for Penrith. He's missed, 4 or 5 weeks at different stages in recent seasons. But we've said that he plays his role in Penrith really well, and maybe he's limited on how good a ball player and a creator he can be, a playmaker. But the last 5, 6, 7 weeks when Nathan Cleary hasn't been there, he's gone to a whole new level. We've gone, no. Like, when Cleary is there and he has stars all around and he plays his role, but he's shown recently that without Cleary and other star players for Penrith, he's stood up and his game has gone to a new level.
Yep.
So I'm all for it.
Yeah. Thoughts?
Yep, I think Edwards is probably, he's leading the Dally M's, or was at least. Teddy, I reckon, in the last month has been in great form, maybe even gone a little bit past Edwards, but I did always kind of think when Madge became the coach, he was going to make a big call like this. There was a little bit of, I don't know if baggage is the right word, but just that sort of stuff that you were saying a minute ago. Teddy's style of play traditionally has been like he wants to get the hands on the ball a bit more, can get in the way of the halves a little bit. Again, he's adapted a bit this year. I think he's been really, really good, but I'm not surprised that Madge has gone with Edwards, and I'm sure he'll do a good job.
Geez, this is one episode you wish you had a microphone, hey? You got a mic? Okay. What are your thoughts, mate? I thought you didn't have a mic.
All right, I got a mic, just no camera.
He's currently wearing the Bloke shirt that you can get at 6 p.m. tonight.
Yep.
Also,
No
the
one
Bloke
can see
shirts are made out of hectic material, guys. Like really, really high quality stuff. So you're gonna love it once you get it.
Yeah, I was rolling around all weekend.
Yeah, I had my my hoodies and that on all weekend as well.
Yeah, I'm happy with the Edwards pick. I think, as you said, Denon, it's his time. I think Teddy playing so well, if Edwards does happen to shit the bed, which I don't think he will, we can parachute Teddy straight back in.
For sure.
And that's the beauty of Teddy. I said it on Tuesday. It's kind of like, it reminds me of when Maloney didn't get picked in 2019. Freddie made about 7 changes, and one of them was bringing Maloney back for game 2 and win the series. So there's that option there, which I'm happy for. Again, Teddy, I think he's the best Blues player since Joey. You can make an argument he's one of their best of all time. Like he
probably makes your best ever New South Wales side at fullback between him and Minnie, maybe. Now I know there's probably someone further back, but between him and Minnie,
I'd
Jack.
have Teddy for sure.
Yeah, I think I would have Teddy though.
Yeah, in the NRL era,
Yep.
since 98, I think Teddy.
So I'm happy with the Edwards call, but again, it wouldn't shock me if Teddy does get it.
and kills it.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if Teddy hasn't played his last Origin. Put it that
Yeah,
way.
I tell you, as you kind of both alluded to, just a massive lot. This is not a farewell to Teddy in the Origin arena, but just give him his flowers, guys. Like, he has been phenomenal, especially after an era of Queensland just completely dominating New South Wales. He come through at a time where you were desperate. You were desperate for someone to just take it to Queensland and say, nah, fuck, like, yous aren't better than us. And I think Teddy was one of the leaders of that. Now, I know he's won 2014, but it was 18-19 where he's won the back-to-back, and that was led by Teddy just killing it.
And mate, I still to this day, I think one of my greatest sporting moments of all time is Teddy scoring that match winner.
Crazy. I mean, you did Queensland to Queensland.
Yeah, it's the only time we've ever done it.
Yeah. So, like, a couple tries by Queensland got us back in the game, and all of a sudden it's got, oh my God, we've just had a lead run down New South Wales. And then Teddy, to the dying minutes, supporting, doing what he does best, which is competing, goes over that line, scores that try and wins it.
And he won Brad Fittler medal both those years.
That moment, boys, I was yahooing in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea on a boat on Croatia sail, on a boat with a bunch of Kiwi girls. It was me and my mate, and we were like tied between all these boats, carrying on. We had it on an iPad.
No way.
And sun was beaming down. He scored that try. The Kiwi girls who didn't give a shit about rugby league, they were watching with us, like invested in the Blues, going, this is the greatest thing ever. When they scored that try, shots were flying after it. We went out to the deck and some like Red Bull parachuter came down and landed on one of the boats. I'm like, life cannot get better.
No way.
What has just happened.
So you're like, the sun's out, you're in Croatia.
Yeah.
Literally, life can't get better.
Shit rig just flowing out in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. Oh, God, it was a good moment.
A bit of reef oil, maybe?
Yeah,
oiled up.
Oiled up, man. The one pack was showing well.
You would look like Dave Portnoy a little bit.
Who?
Dave Portnoy, Barstool guy.
The pizza review guy.
Oh, it was unbelievable. It's the greatest moment of my life.
Look, I just wanted a chance to make you do another lookalike. You look like there's so many people.
I don't have many. Yeah.
So just want to give Teddy his flowers. Just let's remember what this bloke has done. Like, it's been incredible. Okay, To'o, we knew. Crichton, we knew. Arguably the biggest bombshell, because I think we all agree Jake Trbojevic is captain. That's not a bombshell to me. That's like, yeah, I get it. Like, he bleeds blue.
Yeah.
But arguably the biggest, Suoli'i at centre, not on the wing. I was very surprised with this. I did not think this was going to happen. Like, there was not a single team that I had thought out where I thought Suoli'i would be at centre. In every team I thought of, he was on the wing. Because there's an argument to be made, Roosters at full strength, and if you have to play him centre, he doesn't make that side. He actually struggled in centre. Now, he's been much better when he has played centre this year than last year. But this is not the biggest surprise. We'll get to the biggest surprise, but this is one of the biggest surprises for me. Can he do it? Does he have the athletic ability, the footballing skills? Absolutely. Is there a question about the pressure defensively that's going to be put on him and Lomax by Queensland? Yes, I do think there is. Both guys aren't necessarily known as like the best defenders ever, also not known as bad defenders, but they're young and they're rookies in the Origin arena. Bit of a surprising selection, not necessarily Suoli'i in the side, but Suoli'i at centre for me. Thoughts, boys?
How do we see this playing out? Do we see Suoli'i playing left centre, Lomax playing right wing, or
I think Suoli'i will play right centre, Zach Lomax will play right wing. I think they're at the Penrith combo on the left.
You'd have to go with the Penrith combo together. Surely you're not breaking that
I
up.
think that's what they'll do.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Because Suoli'i...
So Suoli'i's going to go from playing left centre all year to playing right centre, you reckon?
Yeah, but, I mean, he played right side. He's played right edge, to my knowledge, up until this point. He played right wing outside Joey Manu up until this point. So he went to left for the Roosters just this year. So then he'll just be going back to the right.
Or do you put Suoli'i at left next to Crichton, as in Angus Crichton, put Lomax on the left wing, and then have Critter next to Liam Martin and To'o on the right?
I was sort of thinking you would put one of these new boys with one of the Penrith boys. I know there's the great Penrith combo, but fuck, in defence, I don't know if I want Suoli'i and Lomax defending together.
Yeah, well, that's
my huge concern. I sort of assumed they wouldn't do that.
I assume the opposite to what you're assuming. I assume there's no way they'd break up the Penrith combo, and that's almost, it's not like the reason they got selected, but it's like that's a strength to the New South Wales side. We got this whole side of boys that have played together, but I also understand what you're saying. It's like putting Suoli'i and Lomax together. It's a huge risk.
The argument works both ways, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because that left edge Penrith defensively is like, have fun getting through that. That's about as good a defensive edge. And you add Angus Crichton.
Maybe ever. Seriously.
You add Angus Crichton in there. That's about like Brian To'o, probably best defensive winger in the comp. Stephen Crichton, the best defensive centre in the comp. Angus Crichton, among the best edge back row defensively in the comp. And Jerome Luai, one of the best defensive halves in the comp. Like, that is rock solid. But I can see both arguments as well.
The way that I look at it is if I'm Queensland, I would want Suoli'i and Lomax defending together.
Yep.
That's the way that I look at it.
Yeah. Do you think that you're weakening a unique strength to maybe make, two, not average edges, but two edges that don't have that next step, if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there is that argument, and I get that 100%. But as I said before, I think this game will be decided on defence, and having one edge that has the potential to be a big liability, that worries me a lot.
Oh, that's what I said in the start. Like, that's what surprises me the most. Yeah. Because I just didn't even think that they would break up the Penrith Panthers side. Now, if they do break up the Penrith Panthers side, and they put the experienced boys next to the funny thing is they're not actually that experienced. Like Crichton is obviously a big game player, but he's only played 3 Origin games.
Yeah, they're big game experience, but not Origin.
Yeah. Now, if they do split up the Panthers boys, I have less concerns about them in defence. But together, and then would Hines be on their side then?
Hines would be right side, Luai left.
Luai would be
with
left.
The Panthers boys. So you get the whole edge Panthers.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay, you can't do that.
See, and that's my big worry.
You can't go, what would you be Liam Martin, Hines, Suoli'i, Lomax? Ooh, I don't like that from a defensive perspective.
Yep.
I don't like that at all.
That's why I would definitely be splitting up these Panthers boys.
Critter's played 2 series.
Yeah, but he didn't play every game in every series.
Yeah, so he's played 6 games, but 1 was on the bench.
Okay,
yep.
So
5 games.
So
5 games.
He started 5 games. Okay.
I said to you guys in the green room earlier, like I was down on the sideline for the Raiders game and watching Suoli'i and Daniel Tupou defend together, just how comfortable he looked with Daniel Tupou. I sort of sat there and went, fuck, He might be a sniff here. And now they picked him. And at that point, I thought Suaalii would be on the wing. But when they picked him at centre, I don't know. I would have been tempted to do that. I really would have been.
Okay, then take out the combinations and thoughts of Suaalii at centre. Do you think it's the right or the wrong call, boys?
I would have picked him on the wing if I was going to pick him, but I didn't have him in my side. I would have gone for Burton there.
I don't like it. I don't like that edge. I would have picked Joseph Suaalii on the wing. I don't mind him at centre, don't get me wrong. I think we've spoken about it tons of times this year and last year. We think Suaalii is much better on the wing. I think his yardage coming out of his own end, all of that is kick returns. I think he's very safe under the high ball as a kicking target on the wing. I think he's terrific. I would have picked him on the wing. I think tying him into the Zach Lomax chat, Zach Lomax worries me, if I'm being honest. I can see why they picked him, and I by no means am I saying he doesn't deserve this because he's been terrific this year and kind of done much more at club level, but we look at auditions and he didn't have a great game on the weekend at all. I'm scared that Zach Lomax is going to look for a headline moment and throw some shit offload out the back that he tries to do more often than not at NRL level, and I'm just envisioning a Reece Walsh or someone scooping up and running the field, and I hope that he doesn't. I'm not saying I think it'll happen, but I've seen it so many times at club level with Zach Lomax of him just wanting that big moment to himself. Under the bright lights of State of Origin, is he going to rein that in or is he going to try throw it? From what I've seen with Zach Lomax, I think he tries to throw it. Maybe it goes to hand. Maybe it wins us Origin because he can do that, but I'm worried.
It's a bit similar-ish to the Reece Walsh selection last year where you're sitting there going, geez, I've seen that bloke just throw the craziest pass you've ever seen. I wonder if Madge getting, do you trust Madge to go, mate, don't even think about it for the first half. Like, just put it away, get yourself into the game. Because a focused-in Lomax can absolutely be outstanding. He can be the best player on the field.
He could, yeah.
But I'm with you, Timmy. I'm just a little bit worried. He had the big game. So the two biggest games of this year against the Roosters, it was just a poor game for him. And then he's auditioning for Origin this week, and unfortunately it's a poor game. He still got through a bunch of work in that, but unfortunately some errors. I would have had Burton in the centres with Suaalii before I had Suaalii and Lomax on the edges. And if you're going now we'll get to it, so I'm jumping ahead a little bit here. But with Luai's game on the weekend, that actually made me go, okay, Luai's won that 6 jersey. Burton was going to be my 14. So I don't know if I like such inexperience. And, like, for example, Suaalii had a quiet year last year, had a pretty good year this year, but hasn't set the world alight this year. Lomax, essentially, like, he's had good years a couple of years ago, but for a while he's been pretty quiet. He's essentially had, 8 really good games. So a little bit concerned that if I'm selecting a backline, I would more look at, like, I'd only have room for one of those players that have kind of boomed into it and played really well. And you might say, well, Burton hasn't really set the world alight, but I don't think Burton's played terribly either. He has, put it this way, I haven't watched a Burton game and he's made a bunch of errors in that.
Burton's also a premiership winner. He's played on big stages.
Yeah. And he's won Dally M Centre of the Year. And also Burton's added utility is huge as well. So that's where you can kind of squeeze him in. So it's one of those selections where it could be a masterstroke or a disaster.
Yeah, it could. It could. And don't get me wrong, I love, like, Zach Lomax, coming out of his own end, terrific. His aerial threat on the line, I think he's probably the best under the high ball in the game, like attacking-wise.
Well, aerial threat-wise, we've got obviously Coates, but aerial threat-wise with Lomax, Critter, and Suaalii, that's scary.
Yeah, I love that. And that crossfield to Zach Lomax all day, and he could score a try or two just jumping over the top of Coates, good in the air, Lomax unbelievably
also
in the air.
bombs to the fullback, Lomax can come through.
Yeah, so I love that from him, and I love that attacking move, but yeah.
As you guys know, I had Lomax in my team last week. I didn't have Suaalii, and because I didn't want to take 2 gambles.
Yeah, okay.
I look at Lomax, mate, and, like, I don't think there's any in between with him. I think he will either be an Origin player for 10 years or it could be this series.
Oh,
one
mate.
and done. Like, I think it's only going to be one or the other, and I'm not sure which one it's going to be yet. But if I was Madge, I would be saying to Lomax, there is no offloads coming out of your own half.
No,
none.
Yep.
You find your front every single time, which he does week in, week out, normally in a team going backwards. I'm confident he can do a job. they can't present him with that opportunity to throw that stupid pass that will be costly.
Well, I think it's similar to Walsh last year. Like, what did we say with Walsh heading into? Because like we all look back on Walsh and go, oh yeah, of course, like he killed it, and we're so sure. But when he did get selected, we were like, geez, like he cannot afford to be friggin', all this kind of mistakes. I think it's a similar situation with Lomax where you just say, mate, don't even think about it. Yep. If you're inside your own half, matter of fact, unless you're in there probably 20, 30, put it away.
Yep.
Even if it looks like it tries on, just put it away. And if Lomax takes that advice on board, he could come out of the game and we're sitting here going, mate, he was amazing.
And that's where, mate, like if he doesn't come up with one of those errors in this game, he'll run for his 230 metres. Yep. He'll be an aerial target. He could lock himself in with Brian Toto for a long time to come. I genuinely believe that.
And also, the positive with Lomax is he can play centre, wing, fullback.
Yep.
Maybe even 6 at a pinch. If you had to, you could probably throw him in at 6.
Would he be the goal kicker or would you go Hines, Critter?
Oh, just whoever's got the best percentage, I'd say.
Probably Nico.
Probably Hines.
Need to look at percentages, but I feel like Nico's hitting them very well this year.
If Nico's got any kind of calf injury, though, they might.
True.
That's true.
Not give him the duties.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the Suoliti selection at centre and Lomax?
Suoliti at centre, I don't absolutely hate it. I would have definitely picked him on the wing, for sure. I don't like, as you guys said, that it's going to be him and Lomax. If you have to put Suoliti at centre, again, which I don't necessarily agree with, but if you did do it, I would have put Josh Adokar next to him on the wing. He's played the same amount of origins on the wing than Lomax has in the NRL. And the back line at the moment, I believe, is lacking a bit of speed. I would have loved to see Fox in there, but yeah, I can see why they've picked Lomax, but yeah, I don't like that him and Suoliti are going to be together.
Hammy, what's mate?
Do we think Lomax will start on the wing? Will he go and have a chat to Madge, tell him he doesn't want to play on the wing? Is he going to start at centre? We'll have to wait and see. He's been pretty good though this year, Zach Lomax.
He's been incredible,
and he's been very good. He's played his best footy on the wing, and you're quite right about the aerial threat. He was really good. He's been pretty much a constant threat, especially against the Tigers. He was very good a couple of weeks ago. Goal kicking helps as well. I reckon he will kick. I think he's been pretty impressive in that department as well. Suoliti, he surprised me a little bit because I don't think he's really set the world on fire. He's been pretty good. He's definitely got a lot of, as everyone keeps saying even at Clubland, like potential, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure he demanded selection. Now they've said that he'll probably go out and have a blinder, but I thought there was other options there. I thought Jesse Raymond we'd spoken about quite a bit. There's a couple of other Sharks in there as well, maybe whether they went with him, but it's going to be interesting. If they do line up like that, and those guys are playing alongside each other, that probably is an area that Queensland will look to go after, I reckon.
The whole squad just looks to me a side that they've picked to concede less than 3 tries, except that edge.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that I look at and go, that could bring so much of this, the rest of the way you've picked the rest of this team.
Because I was going to say that earlier when you said it's a side picked on defence. I think it's a forward pack picked on defence. Mm-hmm. But I think those two selections, you kind of go, they are a bit left field when you're thinking of defensive mind.
Yeah. But obviously those two are to cover coming out of your own end because this pack isn't going to run for 1,000 metres.
And that's, we spoke about it a little bit earlier and obviously in the green room as well, because we'll get to it. Actually, you know what? We'll get to it in a second. Okay. So in the selection table, we eventually agreed to Burton at 6, but you had Walker. Did you have Luai or did you have Walker?
No, I had Walker and I had Burton in the centres.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had Burton at 6. Now, Luai's performance on the weekend, I actually think it helped him that he played 7 because it showed a bunch of stuff that we probably wouldn't have seen him at 6. Because before we were doing the selections, the concern I had with Luai was the players outside him, they don't really get the ball that much because he steps back in so often. Then you see him at 7. He played so well that I was like, absolutely, he has to be the 6. He has to be the 6. So if I was selecting the team on Sunday night, he would have taken Burton's jersey from him with that performance, even though Burton played bloody well as well. So I think, and like there have been some people that, has talked crap about the fact that we didn't have Luai on our side. Look, Luai he's been okay this year. He has not been great this year. But on the weekend, and even the week before, he was quite good as well. I thought he was outstanding and just had one of those games, just said, you have to pick me.
The thing that I find really interesting is that I agree with you. He had one of those games where he said, you have to pick me.
Yeah.
But what he actually did in that game, he's not going to be able to do that in this game with Nico. That's my big concern. Yeah. And that's where, I know he's not in the squad anywhere, but I probably still would have gone with Cody Walker if he was available. I assume he's not. But Luai had a great game the other night. But if he plays the way he did for Penrith the other night, he'll be stepping all over Nico's toes.
See, I don't think he will play like that. I think, what I meant by that is, and I'm not saying, what I meant by that is more is he showed that he can play a different style of footy if he has to. So I think that Madge is going to say to him, mate, like, you need to feed your centres the ball as much as possible.
Yeah, that's my, and I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
That was just my concern watching it going, this guy's playing out of his skin. This is great. He's demanding to be selected. But what he's doing so well, it's not the role that I need for this footy side. So, I think that'll be super interesting. I mean, that's if Nico plays.
I don't think Hines will play. Because first we'll go Luai and then we'll get to Hines. Thoughts on Luai at 6?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't love it. My concern is exactly what you said, Kempy, and that's the left edge. I think we'd all agree that our left edge is going to be our strike edge. Angus Crichton, Stephen Crichton, Brian Toto, there are so many points in that, so much strike power. I've said it all season, all I'm seeing at Penrith is just Jerome Luai stepping off his left and going infield, and the outside backs there, like Taylor May at centre there for the majority of this season. Brian Toto swapped edges but played a lot of it on the left edge predominantly since about round 4-5. Mate, they just don't touch the ball. And, it's easy to say, like, Jerome, you need to square up a little bit and just give them early ball. But surely Ivan's saying that as well. Unless Ivan's just saying, like, mate, do your jinking runs back in the inside, then you get tackled on the left post and we're set up for our right side sweep. Maybe it is different.
I do think there is a chance Ivan tells him to do that because we do know Penrith love to turn under, to get the forwards tight, turn under, step back under. So I do think there's a chance Ivan actually does say, mate, just because like I get from a fan's perspective, you're like, mate, I want May and that to get the ball and score. But Penrith, the way Penrith looking at it, like I don't care who scores, I just want to win the game. Do you think there's a chance that's
yeah, possibly because we've also seen Jerome Luai for many years earlier, have success on the left edge at the Penrith Panthers, particularly when he had Viliame Kikau there, and Kikau would run them sweep plays. So it's not like he can't do it.
Yeah. Well, he did on the weekend. He showed he can do it.
Yeah, but this year he certainly hasn't. And maybe right. And they just say, look, when you do step in, you get tackled, they're set up for that right-hand sweep, which is where Edwards comes in as well. So maybe that is it. Yeah. Now that we're speaking about it, I'm very fascinated to see at Origin level, does he straighten up? Does he square up and play out the back to Critter? Yeah. I hope that is the case because if it's not, and we just see him going off his left and play, it looks very instinctive to me that they rush up on him, and defences know that if they rush up on him, he'll step off his left and go in field.
Well, Queens are going to try to put that pressure on him.
And just go bang inside. All right, we don't have left edge all of a sudden in attack.
Especially if they play like they do at Penrith. I think that's part of their problem down the left edge. Dylan Edwards, he doesn't go out the back down the left.
Probably not.
It gets to Jerome and it's sort of either go to Taylor or one of my second rowers, or that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you reckon, Matty?
I think Walker would have been the best option if he was fit, but I don't think you can take two halves in that both have calf complaints and Walker didn't play on the weekend. South's coming last, probably doesn't deserve that much grace, to be honest. So I'm happy with Luai, but I'm only happy with Luai if Burton's in the team, and we'll get to that later. But yeah, as it stands, I'm happy that Luai's the 6.
Quickly, Hammy, thoughts?
I think just the game he played on the weekend demanded selection. It was basically a shootout between him and Nico, and he was dominant in that game, Luai. So Madge was there watching, not surprised that he got the nod at all. I think we're going to get to it, but the Burton thing's interesting as well.
Before you move on to that point...
I'm not moving on. Okay. I'm still talking about Luai. Do you think Luai plays 7 if Hines doesn't play?
Yes.
Probably.
Thoughts on that? Because I actually think, because we're about to get to Hines, if you're the 7, you've got to be ready. You've got to be training the whole week with the team.
Yeah. My first thoughts are that if it is the Luai-Hines combo, as Guru said, Nico needs a lot of touches. Luai can't play the role that he played with Penrith on the weekend, which was his Origin audition, and he smashed it out of the park. Yep. Buttle's a very different role to what he needs to play with Nico, and he needs to stay on that left edge and probably not overplay his hand too much. Look, if Hines isn't there and Keary comes in, I think Jerome probably does play as an out-and-out number 7. And as a Blues fan, for a bloke that's played 5 out almost his entire career, that concerns me. He had success at the World Cup playing as a 7. Yep. He can do it. We know that. State of Origin, the Maroons, it is a very different arena to even test football. And I'm not convinced.
Yeah. So in regards to 7, I don't like Luai at 7.
No.
Even though he dominated Hines on the weekend, Hines played 30 minutes. A lot of that had to do with obviously Luai, incredible, and now we get to it. Luai is our hungriest player of the week. Brought to you by Menulog. Brought to you by Menulog. Use code LUAI for free delivery this week. LUAI. Free delivery on Menulog, guys. As I said, if you're going to order food to your house, just download the app, get used to using it, because you get codes every single week. And this week it's Jerome Luai, because I thought, boys, on the weekend, is that the best game of his career?
I think so.
Because what stood out the most to me for that, it wasn't necessarily the great things that Luai did, because we know he can do that. He's shown that he can do that over the last few years. But it's just the fact that when the big moment comes, he loves that shit. Like, he loves that shit. And it's so funny that you can have, a guy up opposite him, Hines, who, leading the Dally M's and plays extremely well. But unfortunately, at the moment, when the big games come, he doesn't have a good game. He struggles. Now, he's very early in his half career and he can build in towards. And then you got a guy like Luai who can be relatively quiet for a lot of the year. Like, I really do think he's been quiet this year. He hasn't been bad, but he's been quiet. But then as soon as the pressure gets ramped up and the questions are asked around him, you look at the World Cup, the amount of times he just goes, I love that shit, and just pulls out one of the best games he's played in his whole life, it's amazing.
I will say this about Jerome Luai too, just the more I think about it. Like, yes, he played so well on the weekend, he demanded to be selected. And I've said that that's my worry, because he's not going to be able to play that same brand of footy. You look over the last few years with Jerome and the role that he's played at Penrith, like, he has just stepped aside whenever someone else needed to be the hot hand at any given point. Yeah. Like, there was a season there where Viliami Kikau, he was running out the back and he was doing all the ball playing. He got, Stephen Crichton, a Dally M Centre of the Year out there. He got Matt Burton, a Dally M Centre of the Year out there. He can be, and I know this will sound strange to people, he can just be completely selfless at times. And maybe it could be the perfect match for Nico.
Well, that's, like, I get it. His persona on the field, he's lent into it, he's a villain. It's great. It's a part of rugby league. Whether you love him or hate him, he's embraced it. I love watching it. But it doesn't get talked about enough that it takes 2 to tango in the halves. And if his ego was huge and he was a guy that just, he wants to show how good he is, him and Cleary would never work. It's the fact that he has swallowed his ego for the last few years.
Him and Cleary wouldn't have worked. Kikau wouldn't have come up with 18 try assists that year. Like, he's done the same with Isaac Tunga, Stephen Crichton, Matt Burton. Like, there has been a number of times there where Ivan Cleary's saying, this is how we're going to play. It's not going to look great for you on the stat sheet, but that's how we're going to play. And he's going, yep, I'll fit in.
All good.
I'll make it work.
Yeah. And so that's why I think that, like, I do think Ivan Cleary is telling him, mate, just step back inside. Because you add in, Dylan Edwards is never out the back there. Well, not never, but a lot of the time.
Yep.
Then you add in the fact that they like to turn under and keep the forwards tied. And then also you add the fact in, when he got put in the 7 jersey, he didn't play like that. So I think he's being told to play like that, just to wear out the... Because I tell you what, when you watch NRL games, yes, it is frustrating that the outside man doesn't get the ball, but you can see forwards panicking when he comes back in field because his footwork is so electric. So I thought, Luai, he's our player. He's our hungriest player of the week, brought to you by Menulog. Just thoughts quickly on his performance on the weekend.
He's outstanding, and you nailed it, Kempy. We're talking about Origin teams and players that didn't perform in Origin trials, and it's just another big game. Like, the Panthers coming off a shock loss to the Warriors. They go down to Shark Park. The ladder leaders, I think they'd lost one game all year, and they absolutely obliterate them without Nathan Cleary, with Jerome Luai playing out of his regular role and playing as an organising number 7, and he killed it. And he stands up every time he needs to, whether that is as a number 7, primarily as a number 6. So, mate, well deserved, and he earned his way into the Blues side. So good luck to him.
And you got to remember, his debut series for the Blues, it was a record win for you guys. Like, I know he was quiet last year and he got dropped and whatever, but like, he's had 2 series, correct, or 3? So 3 series. His second series, I don't recall it being that poor, but his first series was absolutely incredible, like amazing. He gave Toto 2 tries. I think he was giving Latrell early ball. Anyway, so he's our hungriest player. Use code LUAI for hungriest player. Now we need to get into it. Hines at 7. Now, unfortunately, I had Hines obviously in my side. I thought he was a must select, but on the weekend, even though he only got 30 minutes, it just put a big concern for me of like, geez, this was a big game. And unfortunately, not only was he quiet, but he had 2 kicks out in the full. Now, granted, one of them I was like, he might have been a bit surprised because, like, all of a sudden you can tackle the kickers when the whole year you haven't been able to tackle the kickers. But that aside, it did put a big concern on me of it was a big game, and unfortunately Hines just didn't play that well. I love Hines. I'm so stoked that he's got called into camp, and I'm hoping Madge can work his magic with him. But it did put a big... I was less sure that he should be the 7 after the game on the weekend.
Yeah, and this is sort of, even last week when we sat down and put our teams together, like, I was well aware that I was building a side around a guy that realistically, on the big stages, he hasn't won a big game yet. He hasn't done it yet. And I didn't even think about at the time that, of course, this weekend he's taking on the closest thing to Queensland he's going to get.
Yeah.
And
Which you could argue is like, that's a tough gig, but it's the gig you got to step to.
It's a tough gig, but it's Origin's tough gig.
And also, to be fair as well, his forward pack got obliterated, but at the same time, he did kick the ball out in the full twice.
Yeah, and I walked away from that game against Penn, and I know he only played 30 minutes, but honestly, the way the game was going, he was just stuck in quicksand, Nico. I think only playing 30 might have been a saving grace, potentially, because they were just all over him and on top of him.
And you know Queensland going to do that.
You know exactly what they're going to do. And like, the reality is, yeah, it might actually turn out to be a good thing for Nico, because Queensland didn't need that Penrith game to know what to do to Nico.
Yeah.
In any way, shape or form, realistically.
He knows what's coming now as well.
Now he knows what's coming.
Yeah.
He knows that...
Get a bit deeper, all those little things you got to do.
Those little things that he can take away from that. But, yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't very nervous about this.
Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm certainly nervous, but face the facts straight up. Our first choice, Nathan Cleary, gone. Our second choice, Mitch Moses, might play club this week but hasn't played in 2 months, essentially unavailable. Nicho Hynes, to me, is the third best option at number 7 for the Blues, and I'm happy he's there, and I think he deserves his chance. And I think, yes, he probably hasn't stepped up in big games thus far, but he's only a couple of years into his career as a number 7, and he, for the most part, he's absolutely excelled. A Dalian medal, not far off another one last year, and he's been terrific. A couple of finals games he hasn't been as good as we sort of hoped he would have been.
Look, in his defence, he was great against the Roosters. It was his team that let him down that game.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So, it's not been a disaster for him. He hasn't got the results, but he hasn't played that bad in all these games. Origin off the bench last year, came on at centre, put a line through it, played 10 minutes. That was just a joke, and the less said about it, the better. Not his fault. But I think here's his opportunity. I know it was a big game on the weekend. It was an Origin audition. It was only 30 minutes. I know he kicked 2 out in the full. He missed a tackle for a try off the scrum. It wasn't pretty, and it has me very concerned. But I absolutely think Nicho Hynes deserves this opportunity to lead the team around, as we sort of alluded to a few times. They've picked this team around Nicho being the man and playing Nicho ball and getting a lot of touches. I can't wait to see it, and I just want nothing more. Take out the Maroons, Blues rivalry stuff, just for Nicho's sake, and this chip on the shoulder of all the critique that comes out on him not being able to do it. I just want him to come out and absolutely blitz it and be like, no, I can do this. Here's my opportunity. So I think he's the man to do it, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you. He absolutely deserves the 7 jersey. I think we all agree with that.
Based on the current situation.
With the current situation, he absolutely deserves a 7 jersey. I think where I land on this is a week ago, it was a 10 out of 10. Lock him in. I cannot wait. This is his moment. Just after the weekend, it just made me, let's say, an 8 out of 10 of oh, geez, that's Queensland going to look at that, even though they're not going to need to, but they're going to put pressure on him. But in saying all of that, it may be the best thing that could have happened to Hynes heading into Origin, because the last game he plays before game 1, if he does end up playing, is, as you said, Root, the closest to Queensland. So he's going to go in already, because I feel like watching on the weekend, it seemed like he was a bit shell-shocked by the pressure that was being put on him, because he was getting targeted, And so I actually think it's the best thing that could have happened to him, because he's going to go into that game 1 Queensland knowing that, mate, this is coming for 80 minutes. And so all the little things you do, like taking a little step back or defensively being ready in regards to look, they're going to be coming down my edge quite a lot. So I absolutely think he deserves to be selected, but I do think the questions of can he step up in a big game, unfortunately, got a little bit louder after the weekend, even though last year in the big game, in the finals game, he did play really well. And I know people are well, they didn't win, but if you go back and watch that game, I thought Hynes was really good. I think that a couple of drop balls from players around him that really cost him the team the game.
I think this first 10 or 15 minutes for Nicho this game, I want to see him have 2 to 3 runs of the football.
Yeah, just get
it's
involved.
twice this year that I think he's ended up in quicksand. Obviously, Penrith the other night in the game against Tigers. He got himself into a hole early there, and I think he just struggled to get his way out of it. I think I want Nico to be super involved and get early touches, and because that's when Nico's at his absolute best, when he's running the football. I really hope in the first 10, 15 minutes of this game, he just takes them on.
What were you going to say, Matty?
Oh, yeah. I was just going to second that. He played really well against the Roosters last year. The year before, when Val kicked that field goal, Nico was the best player on the field that day. Like, he has performed in big games. And, yes, as you said, people might say, well, he didn't lead the Sharks to win those games. But he has proven that he can play good in those big games. And I think he was the only option, given the current situation.
Yeah, I think he deserves it for sure. I would love, obviously I want Queensland to win, but I'd love nothing more than to come out of game one and everyone go, he has just an 8 out of 10 game, because then it's just like, all right, that noise is put to bed, because he's worked his ass off to get where he is. Unfortunately on the weekend, it's a bit similar to Lomax to a degree. Obviously Hines has been playing better footy for longer, but on the weekend, both of them just didn't have their best games. But I really, really think that he deserves that 7 jersey. I think that he deserves an opportunity. And here it is. It's almost do or die. You've got your chance. Let's go. Question, though. If you're 7, can't train full like from word go to the game, should he be selected?
And I guess I have to second that with another question. Who else, though? And that's the concern. I hate that Nico might not be able to train. I hate that Nico might not be at his absolute best for this game. But as Timmy said before, when you look at Nath out, Moses out, even like an Adam Reynolds out as well, who I would have thrown in that mix.
You got like Hastings, you got Townsend.
I reckon if you were to bring in a Jacko
Hastings,
or a
has he
Chad,
played for England, though?
Oh, yeah, Jacko can't play. Yeah, sorry, yeah. But like a Chad or someone like... I think if you were to put them with like a Cody Walker, I could see it potentially working. But I think given this situation, if Cody Walker is unavailable, which it seems like he is, I think Nico, I think you just have to... I think it's a gamble we have to take.
Man, what an opportunity. I just hope he kills it, because, like, what a great story that'll be.
Yeah.
What an incredible story. Comes out and absolutely kills it. Alrighty. So we're all agreeing that Hines Luai, probably the correct decision.
Yep. Unless how long do you give him to prove that he's fit? A day or two, surely, and then you got to make the call and go.
I reckon you give him a day or two. He's got to do some training at 7.
If it turns out he's not available, what are you doing? Like, do you like?
You have to go Luai Kiri.
Yeah.
I think you just have to.
Yep.
Look, I mean, yeah, Kiri's been named as cover for him, essentially. So it'll be Luai Cleary. It has to be if he doesn't play.
Kiri's had some good success with Madge as his coach.
Yeah.
Won a premiership and had a few big games under him.
As soon as you said it the other day when we were sitting there that we need his long kicking game of Matt Burton, I just straight away went. And then watching him for Canterbury the other night, and watching how they beat us every fucking year with that kicking game, I think I'd be getting Burton in there, which is why I picked him at centre.
Yeah,
I wanted him in the side.
I just the Luai and Burton. That's a...
Yeah, it's...
I had initially Nico and Burton.
I had Nico and Burton as well.
And to be honest, I would probably still run with that, but I can, after the weekend, I can absolutely see why Luai and Hines is the combo, but that's a big part of it. Birdo's kicking game.
His kicking game
that's
on the
why I
weekend
had
was
that.
phenomenal.
And I just think Birdo would complement Nico really nicely, because my critique of Birdo is a little bit that he does probably sit on the left edge a little bit too much, 4 or 5'8", but I think that suits Nico, and I think because Nico runs the show and Birdo just sits there and controls the left edge, I think that could have worked, so I would have been happy with that. And
that's where if you ever look through this side, like Reece Robson doesn't really have a kicking game. So you're already
Got
one
a
down
thick
on
chest,
Queensland there. Thick chest, yeah.
Chest-based selection, that one.
Love that.
But yeah, that's the one thing that does alarm me is the kicking game and how we're going to.
I would not be giving Nico 1 or 2 days. I'd be making the call on Friday, and then if Kiri has to come in, then he can train the full session on the Sunday and captains on Tuesday. I think you can't make a decision the day before the game, I reckon.
So you would give him 3 to 4 days?
Yeah, so they train on Wednesday. I believe they'll also train Friday, and that's the training session I would make the call.
I think,
then they'll
I
train
think
again
you
on
boys are
Sunday.
saying you'd give him just the next couple of days to prove it.
Yeah,
correct.
Not 1 or 2 days before the game.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no way. Not 1 or 2. Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying
See how
like...
he warms up, I reckon, on the night.
And then we make a call. No, I'm talking like you get him in obviously today, Tuesday, and then Wednesday, see how he's running.
Yep.
Make a call for Friday's session. Because even that, you've got Friday sesh, Sunday sesh, Monday sesh, and that's pretty much it. Like, so you've only got 3 sessions as your. It's fucking tough.
Yeah, no, I definitely misunderstood that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is one I wanted to talk about. So Jake Trbojevic, Payne Haas, and McInnes, they're your middle 3. The knock on, so that we all agree it's a massive positive that the New South Wales have got this defensive, like, tough edge. Like, we get that. I guess the knock is that meter-wise, is it a concern that these 3, obviously Payne Haas, he can run for friggin' 1,000 metres, but McInnes and Jake Trbojevic, they don't bend the line that much. Now, we all kind of spoke in agreement. We believe the selections have been made under the impression that they're going to do similar to Penrith and even Sharkies, where their outside backs are to make their metres. But even in saying that, Origin is a different beast, and sometimes you need, the amount of times you see Collins back there taking this crazy big carry or whatever. Do you think it's a concern that Trbojevic and McInnes aren't necessarily players that bend the line that much?
It is a concern for me, yes, but I think this team has a bit to do with as well where we're playing. The Sydney game always tends to be a low-scoring, sort of dewy sort of surface there that I can understand what he's done here. My other big worry came in, as you said, Payne Haas can run for 1,000 metres. He can, but the one thing I worry is that Queensland will go, okay, McInnes, Gerbo, we know that when Payne Haas gets the ball, it's fucking gang mentality.
Yep.
And if they can stop that momentum of Payne Haas, which is as good as he is,
yeah.
If you have that entire squad going, okay, that's one run every set, we need to be all fucking in here, that does worry me.
Because, like, you compare, like, Carrigan, Cotter, Collins is substantially better in like, more explosive than McInnes, Trbojevic. Not Haas. Haas, obviously, incredible.
But this is where, once again, to come back to it, I look at this squad and I look at Canterbury on the weekend. They don't have the greatest forward pack in the world, but Matt Burton with his boot can turn a shit set into a great set.
Yeah. Yep.
And with the forward pack they've picked, this is why I would have had Burton in the side for sure. And we'll get to it soon, but fucking surely he comes in.
Oh, I'll get to it. Because the middle 3 at the moment, they average, like, together, so that's Haas, Trbojevic, McInnes, average of 109 metres a game, which is, like, not that much. Yeah. But we've already spoken about in the green room. When you look at, like, Leota, Fisher-Harris, like, they don't actually have that many metres as well. But they are much more explosive off the line than, say, Jake Trbojevic. What are your thoughts?
It is a concern, yes, but I think the way we look at the modern day of rugby league, I am starting to reassess...
sorry, average 115 metres, sorry.
Starting to reassess the dynamic and the body shape of packs. And I think we're seeing, Guru alluded to it just then, but the doggies who have been really successful this season against some of the best packs in the NRL, namely the Penrith Panthers, with a lot of smaller bodies in their pack. And, like, all right, I do question a bit of the go forward there. Are we going to have it? It's a lot of pressure on Payne Haas. Certainly Brian Toto, Edwards, Lomax coming out of our own end. But I'm just not so sure that you necessarily need these big meter-eating forwards through the middle.
Not necessarily big, but just, like, explosive.
Explosive, yeah. And I guess that's where you have explosive players coming off the bench in Lenu, in Ola, in Hutto Young, and a few others. So it's a concern, but I also put faith in Madge and the blokes in around him that have selected this team to go, maybe they are happy with a bit more of a mobile pack and a Cameron McInnes at lock. So I'm okay with it.
Now, another stat that, it's not neither here nor there, but there is an argument to be made that we're going to have a better defensive pack than Queensland, that it is actually a myth. So I averaged out the tackle efficiency of both rumoured forward packs, and they're essentially the same at 94.6% tackle efficiency. So I guess the argument would be you're actually not even getting that much of a benefit in defence by having selected guys that don't necessarily have that good meterage.
I think that argument for me anyway isn't about numbers. It's about the sort of blokes that these guys are.
Yep.
Cam McInnes, Gerbo. I know that on this big stage, I believe these guys won't go to water like other guys previously have. For me, I've said it before, like, I think Cam McInnes, if he was a Queenslander, he would have been Ruben Cotter for the last 10 years.
Yeah, probably.
You mentioned the tackle efficiency, but if we'd picked 3 other blokes than Cameron McInnes or like Jake Trbojevic in starting, does that tackle efficiency drop to 89%? Did we need to get it up to, if you're looking purely at numbers, to get it to 94 to match Queensland?
Yeah, for sure. Again, guys, this is just questions, audience. I'm not not calling it the Blues forward pack a myth or anything like that. It's just these are good, important things to talk about because the knock on that forward pack is the meterage.
Just having a look too, as I just said before, like my worry with Payne Haas in this side is that Queensland will really go after him. Just have a look at the last 3 series. Like Payne's never had a game over 160 run meters, and I don't put that on Payne. I put that on Queensland. Just go all in. If we stop him, that's like this is a huge Origin series for Payne Haas. If he's the best forward on the field here, he can just elevate himself. I've always said I wouldn't pay him that $1 million mark. And if New South Wales can get the win here and he can be the best front row forward in the game,
changes a lot.
Changes everything.
Yeah, Matty.
Yeah, I personally think we're one big explosive forward short. I wouldn't have had Yo and Jake Trbojevic in the same team. I would have, as we said earlier, I would have had probably Barnett. I think it is definitely a concern that they're not traditional meter eaters, and if Payne Haas goes down, we're in big trouble. Big trouble.
That's actually a really good point. Didn't even think of that. If Payne Haas does go down, that is.
But in Madge's defence, if Payne Haas was to go down, who's the guy that could replicate?
Yeah.
Like we don't really have. We've
Not
got other
necessarily
options.
replicate it, but if you had Barnett on the bench, you could get close to.
Yeah.
He's a meter eater kind of thing.
Yeah. Barnett's still untested though.
Oh,
in
for
reality.
sure.
Like,
I think it's more just the type of player,
Yeah.
because that's a fair argument to be had. Like if he goes down, then basically Spencer Linu replaces him as your front rower, and we haven't seen him play long minutes. I mean, you know what? It could work out to be incredible. He could be really quick through the middle. Origin's a fast game, and it could work out as a benefit.
If you want to pick Jake and Yo, that's completely fine. But I would have picked Barnett over either Young or Olakau'atu because he can play both those positions and he's been playing.
See, I personally, if I was selecting similar to you, I either go Jake Trbojevic or I go Isaiah Yo. But by a hair, like if you've got both in your side, I don't think that's.
But you talk about picking one or the other. Can we not surely tie Cam McInnes into the same argument? Like, could you have Isaiah Yo and Jake Troyes but not Cameron McInnes? Because it's similar enough. Like we're talking about meter eaters through the middle. McInnes doesn't run for big 100+ games frequently. Or do you see him as playing a completely different role to those two? He's playing as a middle forward.
See, I don't mind. I like McInnes because of his clean up work through the middle. Like his line speed will be really good. He's going to get through 1,000 tackles. To be honest, if I'm being totally honest, Cam Murray is who I want in that 13 jersey. Cam Murray's if everyone was not injured, you'd be basically going. I'd be going Haas, Yo, Murray, and that is a fucking scary.
My confidence is infinitely higher if I see Cam Murray's name at 13 there. And we shouldn't talk about it.
Isn't this when I have a look through this side, and I know he's an absolute dog, and I love to have him in there. But if something was to happen that Liam Martin became unavailable, and Olakau'atu jumps on the right edge, and Barnett comes onto the bench, I reckon the side just looks a little bit more balanced to me.
Yeah, because you got Barnett there just as that out and out front rower. Okay. All right. So Payne Haas, Jake Trbojevic, Cam McInnes, all agree though, pretty reasonable decisions, unless you would have had someone else?
No, all reasonable. Only one I was going to throw out there is a bit of a, tell me if I'm off my head, I might be. McGuinness starting at 9. Robson comes off the bench once the sting's out of the game a little bit. And then Yo starts at 13. Is there anything?
I don't know whether, I've seen McInnes in at 9 for the Sharkies.
Yeah.
Not great. Not great.
Yep.
He hasn't done it for long. Okay, just quickly on the Reece Robson. My biggest concern, and this all plays into it, so we'll talk about 14 as well and outside back. If Reece Robson goes down, I know Cam McInnes is there to go there, but if you've watched him go into dummy half when he's at the Sharks and Brayley is off or whatever, it hasn't been pretty. My concern is Reece Robson is absolutely locked in. He's playing 80. There's no denying that. And so when you look at the makeup of this squad, you don't have a hooker cover, in my opinion. I know Cam McInnes has played there before, and you definitely don't have an outside back 6 or 7 cover. It's a all or nothing game plan because your whole back line's not covered, your 6 or 7's not covered, and also, in my opinion, 9's not covered.
Yeah, it's a big punt, and probably unpopular opinion. I even thought when McInnes was playing hooker, he wasn't a great hooker. He was just the toughest guy on the field. He was a good hooker because defensively he was fantastic. It's almost worst case scenario if something happens to Robson, because then that's almost put a fork in me stuff.
You've got to have McInnes in there. Isaiah obviously goes to 13. Jake Dravojevic probably has to play 70 to 80 minutes.
Because, mate, if Cam McInnes has to jump in and play 9, if I'm Queensland, I'm just going Nico Hines.
Yeah, straight at him. Take the time away from him. Thoughts about the fact that, at the very least, you don't have 6, 7, any of the backs covered?
Makes me sick to the stomach. I hate it. I hate it so much, especially when we've got the perfect bloke there in Matt Burton. I cannot believe it. Like, the amount of games we've seen decided in recent years, but especially this year at NRL level, that have been won and lost by a back going down and not having coverage, and back rollers have ended up at centre. Mate, I sat there and watched the Broncos and Titans yesterday and saw what Reece Walsh did to Beau Fermor and Dave Fafita, who both spent time defending at centre. He had a field day on them.
Beau Fermor might be one of the quickest back rowers in rugby league too. And still had a field
And
day.
Fafita is one of the more athletic back rows as well.
And Walsh they didn't get near him, nor should they. And the amount of... There's every chance that one of our back 5 or even our entire back 7 go down injured in the first 20-odd minutes. It's state of origin football. We've seen it times a few years back, like 3 blokes go down in the space of about friggin' 10 minutes.
Well, happened to Queensland last year, and it took magic from Collins and Munster to essentially win the series at that stage.
And I cannot believe we don't have coverage. Like, not even do we not have coverage for the outside backs, but we don't have coverage for the halves. Like, the way I look at it, Cam McInnes probably goes into the halves if required. Hudson Young's probably the most mobile player in our pack. He probably goes to centre. Reece Walsh is going to have a field day again. I hate that we don't have Matt Burton at 14.
Yeah, I have to agree. I cannot believe, so much so that when we walked in here, I said, we all kind of like, mate, by the time kickoff comes, they'll have Burton in that 14 jersey. My mind is blown that they don't have at least some coverage on the bench, especially Matty Burton. At the very least, at number 14, I'm shocked.
I kind of said it tongue-in-cheek before the show, but I reckon Queensland might have made a mistake picking Selwyn Cobbo on the bench. I would have picked him in the extended wait till game day, because if I'm New South Wales looking at that side going, fuck, even they're doing it.
Yeah.
Well,
at the very least, we've got Benny Hunt on the bench. He covers 6, 7, 9.
I can't. And you know what? If we didn't have it, like personally, I think Connor Watson would have been there if he was fit.
Yeah, I cannot believe how little coverage this side has for essentially their whole back line.
Yeah.
It's quite surprising. And if they don't bring Matt Burton in, look, as I said, we said at the start, it's a very clear direction that's happened right now. He is going all in on an explode, like a big, tough footy side. So it could end up being a masterstroke. If no outside backs go down, like the power they're going to have through the middle will almost be unstoppable.
If no outside backs go down, sweet. But it is a big gamble to play. Then there's a heck of a lot of examples that have shown that more often than not, someone does go down. And the other thing we've got to contend with here is, I remember I was critical last year of Billy Slater doing the same thing with the Maroons and didn't pick a bench utility.
Well, he did
for
have
outside backs.
Yeah. So at the very least, he at least had someone that could cover 6, 7, 9, and 13.
Yeah, but not for the outside backs. And it's like,
this is both.
Because was it Cotter that went to
Cotter went to the edge, yeah.
Cotter went to the edge, and like they didn't have the speed of Reece Walsh coming at them.
Yeah.
They, like, if something, again, Cobbo's been named, so they do have cover. Let's say they didn't. No knock on Dylan Edwards, but he's not Reece Walsh, who can just absolutely burn the edges if they have a forward out there. It's not the same.
Yeah. It's and as I said, like at the very least they had a utility. Where what's so surprising is like you don't even have a utility on the bench. Now maybe he's considering Isaiah Yeo a utility.
That's where as well. Like I look at this and I just
or McInnes.
Go, like Matt. Like if Madge makes this decision late to put Matt Burton in there, like who are you fooling?
Yeah,
that's what makes me wonder if this is just the side we're running out with.
It doesn't seem like a Madge thing to do.
No,
he's a no-nonsense, no bullshit.
And it's also like if you get to game day and you put Matt Burton in there, like no one's falling off their seats. Everyone's going fucking duh.
Yeah.
Of course you're gonna. You're lucky enough to have the biggest boot in state of origin right now, Matt Burton, in your side, who can cover multiple positions. Why wouldn't you have him there?
Yeah.
The other thing that
he's in form.
He's in form. But the other thing that I question too, like, is he gonna like if he brings Matt Burton in, like, is he going to announce Ola Kawatu and Spencer Linian to make their debut, then drag him out of the side on game day?
That's a good point.
Is he going to bring Hudson Young in, who I personally think got treated pretty poorly last year, and then drag him out of the side again?
Well, if you're trying to build culture, it's a pretty poor thing to do.
If that is the case,
I would expect, and perhaps it is, and I hope it is, because I want Birdo on the bench. I would very much expect Madge from the second he makes the call to say, look, mate, this is what's happening. It wouldn't be a last minute, you're out, Birdo's in. Like, they'd be aware.
I think the most likely thing will be that Liam Martin drops out of the side.
Because he's injured?
Yeah, because he's not 100%.
Then we, probably either Young or Olakau'atu starts on an edge, and then Burton's brought in?
Yeah, I think so. I'll tell you what, if Nico Hines gets ruled out and they end up running with Luke Keary at halfback and we don't have Matt Burton on the bench, that is fucking madness. With all the HIAs and everything, problems that Keary's had, it's Origin, it's going to be fucking
But mate,
brutal.
Nico Hines going in with half a calf.
Yeah.
And we
also
don't have
warranted.
cover for him.
Yep. He'd be my side, he'd be my centre. Yeah.
Matty?
Yeah, I can budge on pretty much everything we've said, but I can't budge on this. This Matt Burton non-selection, it's blown my mind. I don't understand why we have both Young and Olakau'atu on the bench. I don't think that makes sense. I think Burton should have been in for one of them, but again, I'm not going to drop someone after telling them they're going to debut, and I'm not going to drop Hudson Young after what happened last year. So, I think it's madness.
Do we all agree if you had to take someone off that bench, Hudson is probably the one that makes the most sense?
I agree with Matty in that we're sort of saying there we're potentially short a middle forward. I know, as we touched on, like Crichton can certainly play in the middle, but we're probably like Ola edge, Hudson edge, Spencer Leniu. He's a 30, 35-minute player traditionally off the bench. Yo obviously played big minutes through the middle, but do we need both Ola and Hudson Young in this team when we've got Martin and Crichton who can be 80-minute edge back rows anyway? If you pick one of Young or Olakau'atu, they can give, let's say Crichton plays 80 and Martin plays 60. You can bring Huddo/Ola on for 20-odd minutes. So Mitch Barnett is another middle. I don't have Birdo, but off the bench that they have picked with the 4 forwards, I thought that would make a bit more sense.
Yeah. The bench is a bit perplexing because you'd have to put it this way: either Olakau'atu or Young have been selected as middles, unless you're assuming Crichton has been selected to be pushed into the middle. But then,
or Liam Martin.
But then again, in the middle of the game, you're putting 2 edge back rowers on the edge and just changing up your edge defence. That's that's massive.
Olakau'atu could just get on and give you 20 minutes of chaos in the middle, couldn't he?
But then you go, like, I agree. I've said that for years now. You get Olakau'atu, put him through the middle. But then the question is, like, okay, then should you put Barnett on the bench because he's an out-and-out middle? He's done it. He can. If someone goes down, he can play long minutes.
That's what I think. And like Barnett, covers edge, covers middle. The way I read it, and could be completely wrong, but I think Hutto comes on the left edge. Angus Crichton goes to the middle and spends time there. We said we're not light on in the middles, but need a little bit more there because of the edge back rows. Crichton goes to the middle, spends time there, and I think Ola probably comes on through the middle.
See, I would go I would have gone Barnett over Spencer Leniu. I just feel Spencer Leniu, if we come out of game 1 and he's done what we all know he can do, which is like completely change momentum, that's, that would be, I would not be surprised. But I just think the fact that he's played 2 games since he's been back, Barnett's been killing it the whole season. I would have just been more tempted to put Barnett on the bench because then we've got a guy, like let's say for some crazy reason you get 2 injuries in the, McInnes goes down, and I don't know, Jake Trbojevic gets a HI or whatever. Then at the very least you've got 2 players, Isaiah Yeo and Barnett, who can play long minutes in the middle. That's probably the change I would have made to the bench. I would have had Barnett over Leniu.
Yeah, and I would do the same. I wouldn't have Spencer Leniu on my side. I will say, I understand where Madge is coming with this pick. At the end of the day, I love Gerber. 17 Jake Trbojevic aren't going to win shit.
No, you need explosive.
17 nice guys aren't going to do it. You need to have some of these fellas in your side, and I get where he's coming with Spencer, but personally, I think I would have had Barnett before him, and I probably would have had Terrell May if you're going for that sort of character.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the offloads that Terrell May offers is definitely something you need. Got a big motor too, can play long minutes.
I like that Terrell May plays a smoky. He can play massive minutes. He doesn't look like he breaks a sweat. His offload is tremendous.
Good defence.
I think I thought he would have been a great smoky.
The other one we threw up the other week was Talakai as well. I mean, he probably gives you a bit of cover in some other areas as well, as doing that role that he's currently doing.
Yeah.
He struggled in his debut, but how many players have struggled in their debut? He killed it for the Sharks.
Yeah. I mean, to Talakai's credit, he struggled in his debut where he was playing centre and Freddie picked him as a fucking front row forward. Tough transition.
For sure. You know what? I probably would have even had Talakai before Spencer at this stage.
Yeah.
Solves a lot of headaches.
That covers your whole backline as well.
I mean, the argument is there, obviously,
Well, not the whole
Spencer's,
backline.
3 premierships in a row. He's done well on those big stages as this exact role. So once again, I can understand where Madge is coming from, but it's not the direction I would have gone in.
I tell you what though, if he comes on, in a 20-minute stint and absolutely explodes that, Queensland pack, could be a bloody masterstroke. I do think that there is a lot of like bang or bust with this side. Like it could be genius and they could absolutely roll through Queensland, or it could be something that's like they just can't keep up with Queensland's class, at the edges and, at the back.
I look at it as a whole, and to me, it doesn't feel as bang or bust as we have been in previous years. But when you break it down, position by
and
position,
like who's coming off, who's going on.
Yeah, I can't see this side even potentially busting the Maroons wide open. I think if we win in a dogfight, and I think it's probably pretty low scoring.
which I think is what Madge is leading into.
Yeah, for sure. That's Madge, isn't it?
Another game in Sydney.
I can if you put Olakau'atu, Spencer Lenu, Hudson Young on through the middle, I do think there's a 20 to 30 minute period where you could bust down the door with those guys. Like that is those three blokes coming on with a bit of fatigue, like Olakau'atu's crazy offload, Young crazy offload. I do think because you could make the argument that your starting pack is down and dirty, but your guys off the bench are explosive.
It's explosive.
Yeah.
If everything goes to plan and no HAAs, no injuries, with guys like Gerbo, Haas, McInnes, Yo on the side, where are you going to get Hudson Young on the field?
Yeah, it's going to be
That's
tough.
my question mark. If everything goes to plan in Origin, which it won't because it never does, but I wouldn't be surprised if Hudson and Cobbo don't get on the field.
And that's where I guess the argument could be for a utility back, because you're like, at the very least, I got this back here to cover the whole back line.
Yeah.
Okay, Burton at 18, which I like. If you're not going to put him at 14, 18, I like. Keary, 19, Barnett, 20. Alrighty, boys. Out of 10, what do we rank in regards to how much you agree, how much you back the side in and be like, you know what, that's a good side for what he's trying to go for. I'll go first. I probably 7.5 to 8 out of 10, probably 7.5. And what I dock big points is two reasons. Is if Suoli'i Lomax are on the same edge, and Suoli'i at centre, I'm a bit. I wouldn't have done that. Would have had Suoli'i at wing, and I would have had either Ramian or at the very least Burton at 4. And no utility and no back coverage on the bench for me is my biggest knock. So yeah, I'm probably going to go 7.5 out of 10, but I understand the direction that Madge is trying to head in.
Yeah, without being boring, I completely agree on all fronts. At least I can see the direction we're going in. I can see if we are to win, how we're going to do it, as Timmy said. And I mean, I think you have just got to also take into consideration that the team that Madge had in mind for the last few months, he hasn't been able to pick because of injuries and all that sort of shit. So you need to take that into consideration to pick the best team from what he's got to pick from. So yeah, I'd give it 7.5, 8, around that mark too, I think.
Yeah. Very fair point. For all the critiques of it, poor old Madge, he would have had squads in his mind since he was announced, and every half he's wanted to go has gone down, and then everything is, and then he loses Tom Trbojevic. All sorts of things have happened. Poor bugger would just be going, like, seriously, like, just let something stick. You can build a forward pack around Cam Murray. He goes down. He cannot take a trick. So I feel so sorry for him.
It's been tough.
In terms of what I agree with, 7.5. I'm largely happy with the squad.
Yep.
If Matt Burton comes onto the bench on game day, I'll take it to an 8.5.
Yeah, I agree. But you put Burton on the bench game day, that ups it for me. What do you reckon, Matty?
I'm not as high. I'll probably say 6. I don't think the bench makes sense. I hate there's no utility. I think we're one big front rower short, and I'm not sure about the Suoli'i and Lomax. I'll say 6.
Hammy?
Yeah, I reckon maybe 6.5. I'd go with this team. The 80-minute hooker thing, I think, is one thing that's a bit of a concern. The Suoli'i Lomax on the edge there, that's another one. No Burton on the bench, although I think we all agree he'll probably find his way on there. But as it reads at the moment, and then 2 injury clouds, including the number 7. That's probably the other consideration.
Those injury clouds, I didn't even think of that. Oh. Yeah.
But those injury clouds, in my opinion anyway, it's hard to
It's not his
solve
fault.
them. Like it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like fucking, we've got.
Do you not bring him into camp? Like, it's,
what do you do?
it's fair
personally, I'm in the camp of I would rather take a punt on Nico at halfback than Luke Keary be our halfback straight away.
point. Or Keary be 6 and Luai be 7.
I'd much rather take a punt on Nico.
Yeah. Okay. So, look, as I said, I think the key takeaway here is what I like is there looks like there's DNA on this side, like genuine DNA. Madge is starting a new era of the New South Wales side, and it could be if he goes with this and everything goes your way, could be sitting back going, you know what, he made a risky decision that we were a bit hesitant on, but it was the right decision.
And this is one of those teams that I look at the new guys that are in, like Su'Lee, Lomax. At least I can never question their effort.
Yeah, they rip and tear all
fucking
day.
rip and tear. They go at it. Cam McInnes is the same. Gerbo's the same. Hudson Young's the same. Olakau'atu's the same. Like, some of the guys that I've got question marks over, at least I know that if I get to the end of this series and they've lost, I'm going to know that these guys are fucking ripped and teared.
It's not going to be effort that's going to be the
exactly
issue.
right. Yeah.
Yep. Alrighty, so that is your New South Wales Blues Origin squad. Let us know in the comments section what change would you make, what do you agree with, what do you disagree with. Alrighty, before we get into the Queensland side, don't forget, guys, tonight, 6 p.m., that is Monday, 6 p.m, Bloke Winter Drop is here. We do this each year. Once these hoodies are gone, they absolutely fly, guys. People love our hoodies. We've also got Bloke shorts that are made out of the same material as the hoodies. We got Bloke shirts, super comfortable. All of it, compared to our old hoodies, has all been upgraded, guys. Much, much better material. The cut is, everything is different. Now, if you want the hoodies, they are made to be a little bit oversized. So right now, I'm wearing a medium, but I usually wear a large. So I've got a large shirt and large shorts, but my hoodie, I've gone down a size to a medium. So if you want it a little bit tighter, just go down a size. In the hoodie alone, the shorts and the shirts are normal sizing. Also, don't forget, we announced earlier in the show, we have a live show for Origin 1 at the Locker Room Hotel outside of Core Stadium, starting at 6 o'clock, and it is brought to you by Mike Coolman. They have a wide and high quality range of portable fridges, portable freezers, insulated covers, drinkware, cooler bags, plus more. Also, we are giving away a custom-made Bloke cooler, but you have to be following their Instagram. So go to My Coolman Instagram, give them a follow so that on the night when we give away the Bloke, custom-made Bloke cooler, obviously you have to be following. So we can't give it away to someone that isn't following Mike Coolman on Instagram. So go do that now and give them a follow. And a massive thank you to Mike Coolman for supporting the show. That's what made this live show possible, is Mike Coolman supporting it. So if you're looking for portable fridges, freezers, insulated covers, drinkware, you go to mikecoolman.com.au. Let's get into it, shall we? Queensland team brought to you by Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed. Got up with a Pia Cora anytime try scorer on the weekend. At number 1, Reece Walsh. 2, Xavier Coates. 3, Valentine Holmes. 4, Hamis the Hammer. I always Tabai Fido. Murray Tuolangi. 6, Tom Dearden. 7, DCE captain. 8, Cotter. 9, Hunt. Lindsay Collins at 10. Sewer gets back into the Queensland team at 11. 12, Nanai. 13, Paddy Carrigan. 14, Harry Grant. 15, Fodawaker. 16, Jaman Hopgood. 17, Selwyn Cobbo. 18, Kofusi. 19, Piacora. 20, Ezra Mam. Look, I wouldn't say there's many bombshells in this selection, but I would say the biggest bombshell is not only did Fafita not make the starting 17, not even the 13, not even the bench, not even the 20, he didn't make the squad at all. Now, Billy Slater has come out and said basically Fafita set himself some standards last year that he really reached, and this year that he felt that he hadn't really had the same standards, which is ironically enough, if you look at Fafita statistically, he's having a great year. Statistically, there's an argument to be one of his best years. But Billy Slater has implied that they've clearly watched his games, watched a lot of tape, and there must be little 1%ers that you can't put on the stat sheet that Fafita is probably, that he isn't kind of doing. Look, it sends when you talk about strong message, like, for example, when Kalen Ponga and Gagai were dropped, I don't think it was for the 1%ers. It was more just Reece Walsh has got the hot hand, he's playing really well, and Gagai, his form just hasn't been that great at Clubland. Whereas Fafita, geez, it sends a strong message of like, we don't care how well you play. If you don't fit the standards that we're trying to set, we will not select you. We will not select you. And look, I think there's a lot of New South Wales fans out there going, thank God Fafita's not selected. And it may come true that we miss an explosive edge back rower. Obviously we've got Nanai there, but Fafita, we missed Fafita's explosiveness. But as I said, standards don't just exist when it suits you. They also exist when they don't suit you. And I'm sure Billy Slater, it was a hard decision for him to leave a guy like Fafita out, knowing that he can change matches. but it sends an incredibly strong message to anyone in that squad and anyone wanting to be in that squad that we don't care how good you are statistically. There are a few things, off the ball that you need to do to fit the mould of a Queenslander. Thoughts on Fafita not making the squad?
Mate, it's hard to leave Fafita out of a Supercoach side week to week. To leave him out of an Origin side is such a big call, but I'm at the point with Slater where I've just come to accept he can just see shit that others can't. And there's something in I don't know if it had something to do with the contract situation or however that played out or whatever, but as much as it shocked me to see, like even when all the journos were reporting it, I just went, I don't know.
I thought it got leaked so that he ripped and teared on the weekend.
Yeah.
I thought that's what was happening. He was getting like the whole, he's not going to make it, so he goes out and rips and tears.
Especially to see him, as you said, mate, to not be in the squad at all. That has shocked me, but I hate to say it, but I have no doubt that Billy Slater's probably made the right call for whatever reason I can't see at the moment.
Jimmy?
I'm equally excited and terrified. I can't believe they didn't pick him anywhere. At the same time, it terrifies me that Billy Slater has seen something in his game that he said, this doesn't suit my style of play and my Queensland team. But for whatever reason, Jeremiah and Jaden Sewer, they do have what Dave Fafita doesn't. But all in all, I'm like Guru. You just have so much faith, or you would as a Queensland, in Billy Slater and his selections. But as a Blues supporter, I'm stoked that Dave Fafita's not there. And the reason being is that I think a large part of why he hasn't been picked is, as you said, Kempy, a few of those things the stats don't show, and probably some effort errors in and around the ruck. How good's his covering defence? What are his effort errors? Like, how quick does he get back from getting up from a tackle and getting back into the defensive line? His line speed in D. I'm assuming it's little things like this where there isn't a stat for. And I'm 100% sure that Billy Slater has a great reason for not picking him. But what I don't understand is that, all right, if he's lazy in some areas, surely he's good enough to be on the bench and say, mate, come on and just give us 25 minutes of effort, your best, and just tear the Blues apart. That's what surprised me. And the other thing, Jeremiah Nanai, who I know I'm a bit critical of him, but I think defensively, not just this year, but in recent years, and in particular this year, has been really poor. I'm like, what does Nanai do that Dave Fafita doesn't to justify him getting picked over him? So, as I said, I'm happy about it as a Blues supporter, but Billy'd have his reasons.
Yeah, I agree with you in regard to Nanai. We often go, we often look at games of the Cowboys and say, geez, Nanai only had 5-6 runs, but maybe it's not necessarily about, as I said, like the stats or whatever. It's more about, yes, Nanai may miss key tackles, but it's not from a lack of trying. Maybe that's Billy Slater's thinking that, okay, yes, he can miss tackles in defence or whatever, but very rarely is it because he wasn't trying to get there or...
Yeah, and I look at it, let's say they went with Jaden Sewer and like Felice Kafusi and go, all right, he's gone defensive mind. Like Billy Slater, notoriously in the short span he's had as Queensland coach so far, has been an attacking-minded coach. We've seen that with like the Walsh selections, with the Nanai selections last year. But if it was with that, I'm like, all right, he wants a rock-solid 17, confident that they'll do a job. I mean, the fact that he's confident that Nanai, by picking him to start, will do a job says it all. But, I mean, I wouldn't be on what I've seen from Nanai defensively so far. So, had Fafita missed out and maybe Nanai was even on the bench, I'd be like, okay, I kind of get it. Gone for the more solidified, defensive-minded edge back rowers. But to have Nanai there and no Fafita anywhere, I said it makes me happy.
Mate, it's very surprising because... Like you could find areas in games of these other players where they have been like a little bit lazy or missed tackles. It makes me wonder, did the contract situation play into it to a degree?
I almost think certainly.
Is that something that as Queenslanders, you don't want players carrying themselves like that maybe? And they were just like, look, we don't carry ourselves like that as Queenslanders, and doesn't mean that you can't forgive Dave Fafita or whatever, but at the same time, we want players in here that can handle those situations a little bit better. Again, that's pure speculation. I don't.
It wouldn't have been Cherry Evans that made the call then.
Yeah, good one, Matty.
Thanks. Thanks.
Because you go back though.
I'm so happy with it as well.
You go back though. And I think there were whispers that was a part of the reason why DC didn't get selected throughout those years. Again, that was pure speculation.
It's like, what did we sit here and say 18 months ago about Dave Fafita when there are a few question marks around him? Maybe it's a bit longer than 18 months, but we said there was clearly effort areas weren't there and there were defensive lapses and he wasn't running enough. All he's done in my eyes the last 2 years is he has like 18 to 20 runs a game. This is a Titans outfit this season that lost like Tino, their main enforcer. They've lost their spine. They've lost so many players. And I just think Fafita has picked up so much slack. At Origin level, we literally said, mate, have more runs, take more tough carries. I thought he was doing that. It's like, all right, pick him, play him off the bench. You don't need to have a run every set. Save your energy a little bit and be more effective. And maybe off the back of doing that, he's not as gassed in defence and those effort areas improve.
Well, I thought he was outstanding last series as well.
So did I.
I thought he went in there and did a real job, especially on Mitch Moses, just kept running at him all day, and Moses did a real good job on him. It is a perplexing one. Because, like, I haven't really watched Fafita, and is he Ruben Cotter? Like, no, he's not Ruben Cotter. But at the same time, this year, I haven't really watched him and said he isn't engaged in the game. But I guess Billy must see a lot of tape and just gone, there's like he must watch hours and hours of tape just on Fafita and I guess pick up. He doesn't, I don't know, cover across an attack when people make breaks. All those like little things that you want Queenslanders doing in the jersey.
I guess on the flip side, he did the same thing to Collins last year, just the reverse. No one thought Collins was going to... No one thought Collins was having the best year, but Slater just picked him.
That's a good point. I wonder how much... Because, like, obviously it's a long time since DCE backflipped on the Titans. But, I mean, it is an argument. You can say, well, DCE became a captain. So if we're going to have a captain of the club that's done a backflip before... And Fafita has done a backflip. And look, there were whispers around that time, and those whispers have been vehemently denied by Queensland. That part of the reason why DCE wasn't brought in at stages was because of that whole situation. So I wonder if it played a part. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the thing, like, still with Fafita is that if he does have, like, defensive lapses in him, I'm baffled by it. I really am.
Well, as I said, Nanai has defensive lapses.
Yeah, like, who would you have had starting? Would you have Nanai or Fafita?
I would have had Fafita, and I would have Fafita, Kafusi. But your point about Kafusi not playing like 80 minutes is a concern, and I would have had Nanai on the bench.
Like if he does have some slight defensive like lapses and effort areas in him, Dave Fafita, I'm stunned that, like, I think the attacking upside by far and above outweighs whatever maybe he does that leaks in defence.
And that's why you're like, when it doesn't make sense to us, you start looking for, well, was it the backflip or whatever? And maybe they looked at that and said, obviously Billy has said he has no doubt Fafita will be back in the side. And he's obviously also said he's spoken to Fafita. It's a strange one, isn't it? Like, as you said, if it had been a Kafusi Sewer edge back row,
it'd make more sense.
Makes more sense. But the fact that Nanai, who, had a really good start to the year, I think, but defensively has had some lapses. What do you reckon, Matty?
Yeah, I actually don't have much more to add. I actually agree with everything you said. I'm shocked Fafita didn't get picked.
Don't do that. The audience will hate you. I don't agree with everything I said.
I'm stoked that Sewer got picked. I think he definitely deserves it. But again, Jeremiah Nanai, I would have picked Fafita over Nanai for sure. I just did a bit of looking just back to the DCE thing. So DCE backflipped just before Game 2 2015, and then they lost, which he was a part of. Then he got dropped, and then he was out of the team for 3 years. So even though they've denied it, maybe it did play a part, and obviously your cards aren't marked forever. It's probably just a short-term thing.
Yeah, it is almost like just for that moment in time.
Yeah.
And then once, all's forgiven and he can come back in and obviously
I think it's very likely that that's the case.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard he actually got picked, but he backflipped back out of the team. So
some good news for Matty too. Fafita gets left out of the Origin side. He's got 2 weeks to sit on that before he takes on the South Sydney Rabbitohs.
Oh, great.
Great news.
It's great news. So look, as I said, I think that if Billy Slater was a rookie coach, he'd be getting torn to shreds. But I think the fact that he's won back-to-back series, people are going, you know what? I trust that he has seen something that I'm not seeing.
Well, I think off the back of last year when he left Gagai and those guys out, when we all sort of went, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
He's been the best player for a long time, Gagai. Like that's what I want to criticise this decision, but
So do I.
How
But
can
how can you when he clearly?
Yeah.
Well, what we do know for sure is he watches a lot of tape. So he's clearly seen something that we haven't seen.
That's what scares me. I'm like,
Yeah.
he must be so confident in this decision to say, no, I'm happy to leave him out.
Of the whole squad too.
And like, I would love to know whatever the and maybe it is the contract stuff, but if it's stuff on field, like, mate, ever since Lindsay Collins last year, like I just watch him like he's a different fucking footballer now. I just see things with Lindsay Collins that I feel like he's only started doing since last year, but I'm confident he hasn't.
Yeah,
He
he's
just
done it
didn't
before.
see these
Well,
little
he
things.
was. We just didn't see
Didn't
it.
see
But
it.
Billy saw it. Yeah.
It's and I'm sure whatever it is with Fafita would be a very similar situation. And I know we'll get to him just off the back of it, mate. Like, congratulations to Jaden Sewer.
Oh,
What a
mate.
journey to get
Mate,
back
he
in.
sat across just there. We had him on the potty and just hearing how passionate he was about getting back into the Queensland side.
Yeah.
And I know there would have been fans listening to Sewer say that, going, are you serious? Like, we're talking on a back-to-back Queensland side with back rowers that are absolute throbbers. But Sewer was like, no, like, I'm, my goal is to get back in there. I believe I can. And he's done it.
Fuck, it takes balls to sit there and say that. too.
Absolutely. It's incredible. We'll make sure during the week or something, Matty will go find that clip again. Because good on him. Because, also, he hasn't done it at a best club. He's done it at Dragons, who, relatively up and down. And he's ripped and teared, fought his way all the way, not just into the squad, into the starting side, over guys like Kafusi, over guys like Fafita. Just back to the Fafita thing just quickly. I do feel like leading it out of the whole squad it almost feels like it's sending him a message.
Yep.
Definitely.
Like that's a message. Like the fact that you're bringing in Kafusi, like before him, and Brendan Piacora. Now I know Piacora's there for experience, but it feels like a message being sent to
I think
Fafita.
without a doubt it's a message being sent.
Is there a? And look, Billy Slater has been really clear about this. He doesn't look towards game 2 or game 3 or next series. He looks towards winning that game. But do you think there's a part of him that hopes Fafita goes out and goes mental, and then game 2 he just brings him? Do you reckon there's a part of that?
Yeah, like I even think it's even like just to add another layer to it. They've picked Selwyn Cobbo on the bench.
It feels like it's definitely a message.
It feels like a
sent.
message to me, 100%. And I have no doubt that Fafita's going to have a huge month or two. And, it's Origin. Throughout a series, you get so many injuries, so many suspensions, especially nowadays with HIAs and whatnot. Like, I'm confident he plays at some point.
Yeah.
And when he gets in there, Christ.
Sorry, I'm just thinking of Matty's glorious moment that he had earlier before. DCE.
Oh, the zinger.
The zinger. Because what people don't know in the studio is I can see when he wants to talk. And so he had the mic to his phone just like
Waiting.
to his mouth just going, I've got this bastard.
He had the biggest grin on his face.
Luna Park.
What did you
down there.
say? Didn't call DCE then? And so while this whole Fafita chat's been going on, I've been trying not to laugh because I know how much he loved that, especially as a New South Welshman. So look, as I said, I think that if Billy was a rookie coach or a coach coming off series loss, he'd be getting smashed for this. I think a lot of us sit back and go, he must be, because he's a success at the moment, we go, yeah, he must see something. But this is how quickly things can change. If this series is lost, people will be looking back and saying, this Fafita call was, you went too far into the whole setting a standard and instead of going the best players in your 17 kind of thing. I personally, right now, just in my own personal opinion of what I like as leadership and as if you are going to lead a group of men, I love that whether you agree or disagree with it, Billy Slater's standards are a certain, whatever they are, and he will not budge on them. He's a principled man where he's going, when I select this team this year, there is a certain standard you have to meet in every part of your life and playing ability. And if you don't meet that, then you don't deserve the jersey. And I think that that's something that Queensland have done so well for at least 15 to 20 years now, is making that jersey be you have to earn this jersey. You are not just given it. You play a couple of games. For example, he spoke about Hopgood and Hopgood's journey, and into the interview went as far back as Hopgood, growing up in Queensland and going down to Sydney. He even said he was went down to Sydney, tried with the Penrith Panthers, and some people felt he stayed there probably a little bit too long. Things like that, knowing the detail of a guy like Hopwood's career of that's something like Rue knows. You know what I'm saying? Where you would go, well, he might have spent a bit too long at Penrith behind a better the best team in the comp, where he chopped off 2 years of his NRL career.
Yeah.
And like that's detail. Like Billy Slater is talking about the reserve grade time of Hopgood.
And I have no doubt I know for a fact Slater was well and truly aware of Hopgood when he was at the Panthers already.
And like that shows you like that is detail. Like
Yeah.
you know so much that you're like he's probably spent a year or two too long in reserve grade. So that happened like what 3 years ago or something now.
I did an interview with Jermaine at the start of the year, and at the end of it I said, best of luck this year, mate. I hope you make your Origin debut in a Game 3 loss. And he looks me in the eyes, he goes, yeah, only because we've slapped you in the first 2 games.
Oh, love that.
Touche.
Kempy, as a bloke who spends a lot of time with Guru each and every week, can you please never compare his footy brain to Billy Slater?
Are we saying Roo for next Blues coach? Is that what we think?
Hey, throw him in there.
Yeah?
Throw him in there. Then I'll just
yeah.
start playing mind games with him every Monday. Just be fucking into his head. So look, yes, right now we're all high on Billy Slater, and we're all like, he must see something. But that's because he just won a series. The only way you keep that kind of confidence in your decision making is by winning series. So this decision looks we're okay with it now because of what he's done in the past 2 years. But you could get to the end of the series because all we have to remember is Freddie Fittler was hailed as the GOAT after 2 series for New South Wales. And then now all people can remember is all the bad stuff he did. And they forget all the good stuff he did at the start. So I do think it's going to be interesting on how history kind of reflects this decision because it's a big call.
Yeah,
man.
I'm happy to go on record and say that I don't think it's the right decision. I can't believe he's not in there. But I'd 100% back Billy Slater and the decisions that he does make, but I can't make a lot of sense out of it. Obviously, he's seen stuff we haven't, but it'd have to be a hell of a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's so funny how different we react to certain decisions that if this other person made it, you'd be going, fuck, like, what the fuck? But because he has the runs on the board of these big calls like last year with the Ponga and the Gagai call, you go, you know what, just trust the bloke because he's done this before and it's worked.
Yeah, and I'm secretly hoping it does, but I don't think it will play out this way. But it wasn't that long ago after Freddie, like I think Matty pointed out last night, after Freddie won 2 Origin series and he was going a bit rogue, I was like, yeah, no, I'll back him in. I believe in this, whatever's happening. I do feel like Slater's very different.
For sure, I do too. But it's worth noting. It's worth noting. I think that, I think it's worth noting because if you have runs on the board, you get away with a lot more than if you don't, kind of thing.
So you're suggesting Billy's losing the plot? That's what I'm hearing.
Put it this way, there's going to be a lot of people right now that are going, in Billy we trust, that if we lose a series, are going to go fucking full on ham. Billy doesn't know what he's doing. He dropped a feeder. And so just remember how you thought now. So when you go to tear into Billy by game 3, just remember what you said when it happened and then reflect back on
Finally, the Maroons become favourites for a game, which is very rare. Kempy getting a little bit nervous over there, I reckon.
No, I'm talking about hindsight heroes. That's what I'm talking about.
You're trying to cover a loss.
We heard you.
Here we
Making
go.
excuses the series hasn't even started.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so other decisions that were big. Bombshell decisions. I think it's a bombshell. Selwyn Cobbo on the bench. When it first came through leaked, I hate how this is leaked. Like, as you said, screenshots. That's how we're finding out about Origin teams. Anyway, the Selwyn Cobbo was on the bench.
Just before we move off the Dave Fafita stuff, could you imagine the content that would have come out of Queensland and New South Wales sitting side by side, them announcing their team, and when Fafita's name wasn't read out,
And the other players'
imagine
reaction.
Nico Hines' face going, holy fuck, the boogeyman just got ruled out. This is fucking great.
Yep, 100%. Imagine all the people that are doing reaction content on the internet. Like, it's just mental. Just
It
mental.
would have been all time.
Yeah.
Mad Dragon, he was in fine form on the weekend.
Yeah.
Imagine him when Sewer got picked.
Those poor neighbours.
Okay. Other bombshell. Selwyn Cobbo on the bench. When I first heard it, I was like, ooh, I don't know about that. I really don't know about that. The more I let it sink in, and the fact that Selwyn has a unique body shape, like he's a big, big boy, the more I like it. We know he can play in the middle if he has to. At the most, he may spend 20 minutes in the middle. Like, even if there are injuries, he's probably going to spend maximum 20 minutes in the middle. Unless they're decimated, and by that stage, it's like, the game's pretty much done. The more I see it, the more I like it. And the more I think it's actually, with everything that happened last year, with how many people go down with HIA. So even if the player gets, he passes HIA and comes back on, we're talking like, 10, 15 minutes. Like, you can score 3 tries in 10 or 15 minutes. I actually really love it.
I think that if everything goes to plan, I don't think someone gets on the field. I think that with the way that they use their hookers and the way that one of them jumps into the 13 jersey at different points, I can see when they make that hooker change, that'd be an opportunity for Pat Carrigan to maybe have a spell, bring him back on for whichever one of those hookers that comes off later. It's one of those ones that if Madge, for example, picked a guy on the bench that is only an out-and-out centre winger, I'd probably question it. But because it's Slater, I just think he knows what he's doing. And once again, I think there's every chance he doesn't get on the field, which isn't a knock on Selwyn Cobbo. There's every chance if they have an injury, he could come on and be the saviour at the same time.
Oh, well, I think if the game's close, he probably doesn't get on the field. I think if Queensland are winning...
Which is what I'm expecting a Sydney game to be, with the side that New South Wales has picked in particular.
Yep.
But in saying that, mate, like, if this game is what we're expecting it to be and it's tight and it's close, just throwing the unknown out there into the middle. Like, he played a couple of games, like, through the middle last year
the
for
Broncos,
Brisbane. And, like, he's just unpredictable. You don't know what Selwyn's going to do. He's one of those guys, he can do things that no one else can. He's one of those guys that seemingly the ball always seems to bounce to him, Selwyn, but those guys always put themselves in the right position as well. Like, I
think also, if I hadn't have seen him defend at centre this year, I'd be really, really concerned. But how well he's gone at centre, I go, look, could you chuck him on an edge for 20 minutes? Like, maybe you could, like as in edge back row.
Yeah. The other thing that I do like about it, and, we always talk about, if there's an injury or someone comes off, like, even now with HIAs, how you're off for that 10-minute period, like, you can lose a game of football in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
even if he's only used twice to cover a wing or a centre when there is something like that happening. Like, I the more I look at it, the more I like it, but I also just think there's every chance he doesn't get on the field, which I don't have a problem with.
And also, there's definitely a world where we have multiple forwards go down and we don't have enough forwards on the bench to cover that.
Yeah.
And we could be sitting here going, oh my God, Billy, why would you waste a bench spot on an outside back especially when New South Wales, if any forward, New South Wales do not have to worry about forwards going down.
Yeah.
Like, not one bit. So there is that question. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, I think it's a good point you make, Guru, in terms of, like, even if a back doesn't go down for the whole game, maybe it's a 15-minute HIA window. Blues last year, Nicho Hines came off off the bench and played 10, 15 minutes and we lost the game in that period. That's all it takes.
When Queensland had 12 on the field.
Yeah, exactly. I like the selection. I think it'd be pretty hypocritical.
Don't put that camera on him, Matty.
Shove that fucking up your DC. Hey, you got something to say smart about that one, mate? Nothing? All right.
I think it'd be pretty hypocritical to sit here and bag the Cobbo decision after saying how badly I think the Blues need a utility on the bench. And I just look at this roster, this 17, and it just looks very well balanced to me. It's funny because this time last year I was critical of the bench because they went with 4 forwards and they didn't have coverage in the outside backs and I hated it. So Billy, this year it's interesting that he's gone, all right, I'm going to do it. And he's
listens to the potty, obviously.
He's a big listener of the Blokey Bar podcast, obviously. So I like the decision. Yes, there's a little concern around if they do lose middle forwards that they're a little bit light on, but at the same time, we've seen for a number of years now Harry Grant and Ben Hunt play in tandem on the field at the same time and spend time in the middle as like Benny Hunt as a middle forward, doing a job there as a ball playing sort of lock. So I think they'll be fine. Just the balance of the 1 to 17. Anything happens, there's an answer to it. And I think with the unpredictability of the current game, with head knocks and injuries and sim bins with high shots and all sorts of things, I'd be so confident going in with that team that if shit goes wrong, they can cover it. So give or take a couple of middle forwards going down, I think you're sweet.
Yeah. I think also, Selwyn Cobbo's body shape, he's physically big enough to be in the middle if he has to be. It's a really well-balanced side. And also, Hopgood, he can play long minutes. We know Cotter can play 80. Lindsay Collins can play 60, 70 if he has to. Sewer, 80 easy. Nanai, I wouldn't say 80 easy, but he can. Do you think...
Carrigan, 80.
Carrigan,
you've got big minute forwards. You're fine.
Yeah. So, look, I think it's a really, really well-balanced squad. But as I said, though, if no injuries happen... and you look at the New South Wales bench and you look at Queensland's bench, they do have more explosiveness in the forward pack coming off that bench. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas I'm looking really, we don't have a Spencer Lenu on the bench right now. We don't have a guy that's just going to, like obviously we've got Harry Grant that can play a similar-ish role.
Very different benches, aren't they?
Yeah, they're total, like they're worlds apart.
Yeah.
They're worlds apart. If anything, there's an argument to be made, Madge is a very old school bench, like pre-rule changes, so pre-2020, and this is a very modern bench that is quite versatile in positions. So it will be almost old versus new to a
If
degree.
there are no injuries or concerns, the Blues have the better bench. But when was the last time that never happened in an Origin game?
Yeah. What do you reckon, Matty?
I was just going to say, if Kalen Ponga was available, I think he would have taken Cobbo's spot, and that would have been extremely frightening. But do you think that would have been Ponga's spot on the bench now that he's picked?
I had
Cobbo?
Ponga at 14 from a while out.
And no Ben Hunt.
Well, you look at the team now and the way he's gone about it.
That's what I'm saying,
He
'cause they
clearly have
picked
done
both.
both.
Yeah, see, I with KP, the reason Selwyn Cobbo works for me is because he's a big body. KP for me, just not.
You don't want him playing in the middle.
I don't really want him in the middle. You know, we've seen defending in the front line. Obviously, he's had his issues with head knocks. I know he came on and he had that incredible game for Origin quite a few years ago, but I just don't want him in the middle if I can. Matter of fact, I don't even want him in 6 or 7 if I.
I agree, but we did see for a number of years, like what DCE came on as a 14. We saw Cronk come on as a 14.
Morgan.
Why not Morgan? Why not Kalen Ponga?
Do you think Ponga has made like similar-ish players in regards to what's the word? Durability?
I think he could have come on and done that role for the Maroons, yes.
I just think durability-wise, when you compare DCE, Cronk, Morgan, they're just a bit more durable in the middle. I think he's more of a Ferrari KP. To me, I know he did do it. I know he has done it.
Yeah.
But I see him more as a Ferrari. I want him at fullback, just ripping. What do you reckon?
I hadn't given it any thought whatsoever, to be honest with you. But I mean, I guess if they have gone with Cobbo, it wouldn't have surprised me if they were.
Yeah, now that I see that.
Yeah.
Was it KP's first Origin off the bench?
Yeah.
And played limited minutes and came on and tore us apart?
Killed it.
Yeah.
Killed it. Played a lock, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, played
Smashed
lock,
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of his
I-
first touches just skip, went bang,
I
catcher.
do think like that KP is different to the KP today
Yeah.
in regards to durability. I think that fullback's his position. You keep him out of as much contact as you can. Yeah.
I think, we sat down here last week and spoke about our Queensland side, and I think it all pretty much picked itself. Probably the biggest talking point was Selwyn or Murray Taulagi. And in hindsight now, and, Matty said it, and I think Dawes said it too, like, of course Slater picked Murray Taulagi. He's just done a job
Yeah.
time and time again.
And what are we talking about? Like the little things that you don't put on a stat sheet. The try savers.
Murray,
He
yeah.
won the series for us with those try savers.
Yeah.
Like that first game is what won us the series. Like it really, I know it sounds stupid to say that, but
I don't think it sounds stupid at all. He came up with so many big plays.
Yeah.
It was so the other day it was Gagai like. He just managed to
incredible.
be in the right spot every single time.
Okay. Now other positions. We've spoken a little bit about Taulagi. Ruben Cotter at 8. All sweet with that?
Yeah, I don't care where Cotter's playing. He'll do
true.
the job.
Are you confident Cotter doesn't potentially start on the edge?
I thought he might
bench?
start on the edge. When I heard Fafita was getting dropped, I thought they'd move Cotter to the edge and put Sewer on the bench, and then they would start Jensen. I think Jensen's really unlucky.
I think he's very unlucky not to make a 20 here.
Yeah,
Very
super
tough.
unlucky.
Yeah.
I think the 20 maybe, but I wouldn't have him in my 17 ahead of any of those blokes.
I honestly would. I'd have him over Fodawaker.
I'd have him over Fodawaker for
Would
sure.
you really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mate, he's been so good. He's been so good for the Broncos.
I think Mo had a good game yesterday, but I think this year he's been
His first
really down on
6
form.
weeks was really poor. His last month has been much better. But that's what's so surprising about the Fafita decision, because it's like I feel like some of those little 1% areas is what Moe.
Mate, I almost feel like that's another middle finger to Fafita watching it. Like,
Yeah. Because I feel like for at least the start of the year, Fodawaker had those lapses. Like I saw them.
He started slow for sure.
Yeah, so that's what makes this Fafita decision, like just, again, he must be seeing things that we're not seeing. Because I thought, don't get me wrong, I do think Fodawaker the last month of footy has been, ever since that Warriors game, I think he's been really good. But yeah, before that, I thought he was quite slow.
well, like if you want to be really harsh, like if you want to talk about lapses in concentration and whatnot, like Fuck, Val Holmes has had some errors in his game this year.
Massive.
I don't know. Like, for me, he's done enough to be picked regardless, but that would have been another one. If you wanted to send a message, you've got someone Cobbo sitting on the bench too. You could have utilised.
Yeah. Yep, true. And so I guess, there must be things that are... Because, like, Holmes, it's never from lack of effort.
No.
It's always just brain explosions and lack of concentration. So the thing that, again, we don't know because we haven't spoken to Billy, we're not in his head, but all I can assume is, like, he doesn't mind players that make errors, miss tackles, obviously to a degree, but I think it's when he sees a break made on the other side of the field and the other back rower, you don't chase all the way back to stop them from scoring under the post. I think all those little things is probably what he's looking at. Like, unless you're watching the game specifically and watching that player, like walking during sets or, jumping in a hooker when you shouldn't, like all those little things, I think that's probably what he's looking at. Because but then you have to question the Nanai one, because I have watched games where I feel like Nanai has kind of sat out on his edge and not really engaged
If
with
you
it.
question Fafita's effort areas, Nanai has a third of the amount of runs a game that Fafita has. All the attack at the Titans goes through Dave Fafita. Sure, there might be a few little lapses, but like the other thing, Fafita, I think at least his contact in D to Maya, I haven't seen any major concerns this year.
pretty
Maybe
good.
there's been a few where he hasn't got across or has been walking a little bit, but Nanai has countless examples of missing tackles and letting tries in this year.
Yeah. As I said, I think we all just kind of agree, like, he must be seeing things that we're not. Or maybe the contract stuff does have something to do with it. Maybe Billy feels like that's not how you carry yourself. And as a young man, well, I want you to
Maybe
learn a
it
lesson
does.
from that. And maybe that's a conversation he had with Fafita, is like, I'm not going to select you this game because I want you to learn a lesson from that situation.
Fafita averaging 150 metres a game this year, Nanai 88. When I have a look at missed tackles, but we'll get there.
Tackles is also substantial. Like, statistically, he's arguably one of the best back rowers in the competition right now.
Yeah.
Fafita. And also, he didn't start for the start of the season. Anyway, so I'm going to feed it quite a lot. Okay. Lindsay Collins starting, obviously. Dearden at 6. I was mind blown that it was even a question, but I mean, Dearden, we all agree Dearden should be a 6? Should be the 6?
100%.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a question either.
Oh, man, there was a lot of people. Like, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Did you not watch Dearden last time? And also, have you not been watching Dearden play for club?
I reckon had that grand final not played out the way it did, I don't think it's even a conversation. I reckon a lot of that comes from Ezra's performance in the grand final, which was fantastic.
I think also Ezra's a highlight man.
Yeah.
So it's like very easy to be like, each week when you're watching highlights of a game, Ezra Mam is doing something crazy.
Yeah.
So it's like very easy to get on the hype. What do you reckon, mate?
They got enough other highlight men in that team probably to save themselves from having another one. He would have done a great job if he got in there, but Tom Dearden's obviously done the business in Origin before when it's mattered, so not surprised at all that he goes in and he'll do a great job.
Just really quickly, I mentioned his name before. Val Holmes, he's only 28 years of age. He's got the third most tries in Origin history. He's got more than any New South Welshman ever, and he's only sitting behind GI and Darius Boyd, who sat on the left edge in the most dominant period of all time.
So there's an argument you made Holmes is even more incredible because he's doing it. I mean, they've been pretty dominant, but nowhere near that dominant.
Mate, he's 4 tries behind Darius Boyd.
It's
unbelievable.
And he's 28.
He's 28,
So he'll get it.
He could have 4 more series in him.
What's GI at?
GI's only at 18. He's only 5 behind him.
So he might go down as he could get that in 2 series.
Mate, aren't we like we're putting Val up against Lomax and Suwali at the moment, aren't we? Like he could.
Oh, let's talk about Val. Obviously, the obvious thing is he's done it at Origin before, all that, but his form this year has been like quite poor. Is there, when you look at Gagai, put it this way, I feel like Holmes is playing worse than Gagai was playing last year when Gagai got dropped.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Val is quite often having games where in the last 10 or 15 minutes he'll score a try or two or come up with a big play that sort of covers up a few things throughout the game. But and as you said, mate, it's all just concentration from Val a lot of the time. But
Yeah.
I mean, if this team came out this morning and he wasn't in it, it would have surprised me, but I could have made sense of it for sure.
Yeah. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I understand the comparisons to like Dane Gagai last year for sure, but I think the other thing, like there's been a few, not brain explosions, but defensive lapses, I think is a better way of putting it for Val Holmes this season, because in attack he's been outstanding, and he's running harder than I think anyone in the game at the moment.
So there's a few areas in attack.
He does, but I think the other thing we have to add in terms of his defensive woes this season, the Cowboys as a whole defensively have been atrocious.
Yeah.
And while he's clearly had some poor reads and a few bad effort areas there, but just bad defensive plays, it's just a shambles, the Cowboys defensively. So you lob him into this Queensland lineup where he grows another leg, I just would not have doubted one bit picking him in this side.
Speaking of growing an extra leg, he has scored one more try in Origin than Billy Slater. Slater played 31 games, scored 12 tries. Val's at 13 tries from 17 games.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, my God. So I guess he's probably looking at that as well, going like, in Origin, this bloke scores points.
He does it, yeah. Gets the job done.
This Mike. Val's also 28, and Gagai got dropped when he was 32.
Good point, yeah.
Okay, so you reckon it might be a bit of an age thing?
I think it can play a role.
Yeah,
sure.
that's fair. He's still got that youthful explosiveness.
I'd have given anything for Cobbo to be picked over Val in this team.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You'd rather Val to be you'd rather Cobbo be picked than Val? Yep.
I think Cobbo would have presented. I actually probably would have had Cobbo ahead of Taualangi. I get it, and I'm not certainly not upset about it, but I thought he might have gone with Cobbo. But I think Cobbo. It's funny because I think overall Cobbo is a far lesser defender than Val Holmes. Certainly at this stage of his career at centre, but on this year alone, Cobbo's been a better defensive centre than Val Holmes.
Val Holmes, goal kick or Reece Walsh?
Val.
Yeah.
Val crunch, isn't it?
I'm just looking at most errors. Lomax has the most errors in the NRL, which is...
I will say this in Lomax's defence, a lot of those errors come from let's put the ball in the air and hope Lomax comes down with it.
Yep.
He does compete for a lot of those.
True.
He makes a lot of errors regardless, but I think the error stat is he comes up with 2 of those a game, then he comes down with them, they score because it's their only option.
And then, but on the flip side of that, Reece Walsh, 5th most amount of errors. Selwyn Cobbo, 8th most amount of errors. Valentine Holmes, 9th most amount of errors. Benny Hunt, 4th most amount of errors. So in the top 10 for error count, you've only got one Blues player, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 Queensland players.
Yeah, that should fill me with confidence, but it doesn't.
So I mean, it's definitely something to note.
Yeah.
Okay, Paddy Carrigan, obviously at 13. I think we all agree with
contentious,
that.
do you think?
Contentious call?
You're just throwing it out there.
How do you think they go in regards to their rotation? Do they stick to tried and true with what they've done over the past few years?
Yeah, you don't need to fix what's not broken.
Yep.
Well, it was interesting. So first 2 games last year, Grant started, Hunt came off the bench. Then game 3, Hunt started.
Because I'm
Grant off the
surprised.
bench.
I thought Grant would start. I just felt like he developed into
I do
that starting
too.
role.
Yeah. Well, I think they only flipped it for game 3 last year, didn't they?
Yeah,
Which
yep.
they lost.
Yep, they lost.
I thought Grant would have started. I mean, I don't have strong feelings
Neither
over
do
it, but I thought they would have started.
Yeah.
And is there a chance that that's what it looks like now, but Grant might start anyway?
Yeah, it could change for sure. Okay.
Did Billy play silly buggers with his lineups last year? It was just what he named played, didn't it? From memory?
I think it was pretty bang on.
Yeah.
Pretty bang on.
No, last year he changed it an hour before kickoff. It was the year before.
Front row,
it was
didn't
bang
he?
on.
Year before bang on, right?
Did he change the front row, was it?
He changed Cotter.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something in the front row.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he start on an edge in one go?
No, I think that was once Gilbert went down, Cotter stayed on the edge for the rest of the series.
Yeah, so last year, game 1, Tino and Cotter were both named on the bench, and they were the starting front row.
Yeah, okay, so he
In
changed
game
that.
2, Collins came off the bench and they started Flegler
Yeah, okay. Jeez.
and Cotter in the second.
Imagine this-
He started Cotter in the second row, game 2 last year.
Yeah, I think he kept him there until game 3. They brought in a 9 for Fafita, maybe.
It's interesting, he didn't. When you look at Fafita's minutes over the last few years, it wasn't massive either.
I tell you what, geez, if that Queensland pack was like full strength, fuck, it's a scary Queensland pack. You'd be going
Yeah, well, yeah.
Collins, Cotter, you'd be going Collins, Tino, Carrigan, and you'd have Cotter, Flegler off the bench.
Front row depth, New South Wales versus Queensland, is night versus day.
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference at the moment.
I can imagine Flegler coming off the bench. Oh, damn. Okay. Fodawaker, So he will probably come on for Collins. I'll be honest, and we spoke about it already. I'm not surprised Fodawaker made it, but I probably would have selected Jensen over Fodawaker. Hopgood, where do you see him coming on?
I don't know. I'm not too sure if you just use him as an out-and-out middle. Do you, I don't know, do you let Carrigan play some minutes in the front row or?
Because, like, for example, Matty, you were critical of New South Wales not carrying 2 out-and-out front rowers on the bench. I mean, Queensland have gone even crazy. They've gone Harry Grant and Selwyn Cobbo, and they've gone 1 front rower and 1 13. So they have no edge back row coverage to a degree.
Yeah, and it is, you can't pick a perfect team every single time, but, if Queensland were to have an injury in this forward pack somewhere, it would get interesting very
a little
quickly.
bit dicey.
It'd get dicey, yeah.
Yeah, because you go, like, let's say, what do you reckon? Collins goes down early. Then you're going to need basically Hopgood and Fodawaker become your front row rotation because Fodawaker can't go longer minutes. And so you lose. Like, Collins is pretty important.
That's why I'm the first one to bag Brisbane whenever they move Pat Carrigan out of 13. But I think if you needed to, I think I'd rather play Carrigan as a proper middle forward and Hopgood play that link role because Hopgood does it at a very high click. I think he's underappreciated the role he plays for Parramatta.
Yep.
There because they're so dominant through their halves when they're both there.
So if Collins goes down, you move Paddy into 10, you bring Hopgood on, and then you just rotate Fodawaker with either Paddy or Cotter through the middle there.
Yeah, I just think when Hopgood comes on, Paddy Carrigan plays the front rower. Doesn't change that much. He just does a little bit less ball playing. Jermaine Hopgood is a terrific ball playing lock, but he runs a lot for a ball playing lock. Like he's a ball running middle forward before he's a ball playing lock. He was come on as 13, do a bit of ball playing, plays that link man, but also take a bunch of runs. And Paddy Carrigan just goes into an out and out prop role.
I tell you what though, and I know we're getting stupid here, but if 2 forwards go down, that's when it's Barney Rubble.
Yeah, but it's not that stupid either. Like it's with the way that the game's played nowadays so be it with HIAs and everything it's fucking Origin.
Yeah.
I think the injury played a part, but I would have picked Jairo over Hopgood. Same reason I'd have Barnett on the bench.
Is Jairo not available? Do we have to assume?
I just don't. I think Queensland are very strong on if you have a niggling injury, then where we can visibly see that you're struggling to get through 80 minutes of rugby league, they don't bring you in. And also they're very strong on if you're just coming back from injury, unless you are one of the key players, they like to see game after game after game before you're heading into Origin camp.
Yep, fair.
But outside of that, very well balanced squad, very exciting. I don't think I think the biggest bombshell is the Fafita one that I'm, regardless of how much I trust in Billy, I'm still a bit unsure as to why it happened. Even though I know he said that he's looked at things. What I mean by unsure it happened is I haven't seen those things be so bad this year that I wouldn't have had him in my squad. Just
one guy that I outside of when you read the team at the start, I don't think we've said his name, and I think it's just full credit to how well he's gone this year, Coates. That he is just an automatic. There's no question marks around that. I think we're talking about Holmes, Murray Taulagi, Selwyn Cobbo, and Coates is just locked in, as he should be based on his form. But for me in the preseason, it wasn't like that.
No way. No way. I mean, you would have had between him and Selwyn Cobbo, really, because Taulagi had earned his spot to keep it. No, he didn't play that well this year.
We've mentioned him as much as we mentioned Brian Toto in the Blues chat.
Coates is just this year, his form has been unbelievable. It's been incredible. The amount of games, the danger, his finishing ability is probably the best in the comp on the wing right now, his finishing ability. Just something special.
We mentioned before about if KP was available, would he have been on the bench as they've gone for Selwyn? What if AJ Brimson was available? What do you think they still would have gone with Selwyn over him?
I think so. I think it all comes, for me personally anyway, I think it all comes down to body shape. Big body, can play in the backs, anywhere in the backs, can play fullback, but also if he has to, can go through the middle.
Yeah, worst case scenario, if 2 middles do go down, Cobbo can play through the middle. He can.
You don't want him to, but physically he's big enough to do it. Alrighty, that is the Queensland team done and adjusted. Let us know. Was there any changes you'd make? Are you shocked with the Fafita situation? Who would you have brought in, not brought in? Is Jensen hard done by? Let's get straight into
Hang
a
on,
bit
should we
of,
rate it out of 10 like the Blues?
Oh, apologies. Rating out of 10. Okay. See, this one's harder because I think we trust more in his decisions because he's got the runs on the board. But rating out of 10, I'll give it 8.5 out of 10. 8 to 8.5 because it's just a Fafita one. I'm just unsure why he's not in that squad. I thought he's been playing really good footy this year. I thought he cleaned up a lot of that smaller area stuff. And so that's the one that I haven't seen what Billy Slater has seen, so I'm going 8 to 8.5.
Yeah, I'd go somewhere between 8 and 9. I think a lot of this side sort of picks itself. He's made a couple of big decisions. But
And also Jensen I would have put in the side.
Yeah, I would have had Jensen in there, but I also know that Slater will get something out of Mo Fodawaker, so I'm not too concerned about it. 8 or 9 out of 10, yep.
Yeah, I'll go 8.5. I think if they had Fafita over a 9, even like say Nanai was bench, I'd be happy enough with a 10, but that's just the glaring one to me.
8.5, same reasons.
Yep, 8.5 for me as well. I think just the one thing with the bench, as we kind of touched on, if we go through, there's no injuries and for both teams, and the middles end up getting a bit bashed up. Maybe you go, oh, it would have been nice to have another big body on there, but pretty good team.
A good team?
Yep.
Alrighty. That is done and dusted the Queensland side.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.